Chapter 1374 Humanoid Great Lord. Chapter 1374 Humanoid Great Lord. Chapter 1374 Humanoid Great Lord. Staring at the 7 luminaries' ring's attributes, even Shifeng could not believe that it was merely a fragmented legendary item. The ring had already been the most powerful epic ranked ring he had ever seen. Now that he had upgraded to fragmented legendary rank, not only had its physical appearance undergone a massive transformation, but its attributes had as well. 7 luminaries ring, replica, ring, fragmented legendary rank. Equipment requirement, strength 1200, agility 1000. Attributes will be adjusted according to user's level. Strength plus 130, agility plus 115, intelligence plus 102, endurance plus 105, vitality plus 106, current level, 55. When equipped, increase strength by 40%, agility by 40%, intelligence by 40%, endurance by 30%, and vitality by 30%. All negative environmental effects weakened by 50%. Ignore levels plus 15. All item level requirements reduced by 10 levels. Additional skill dash. 7 luminaries aura. There are 7 different auras: earth, water, wind, fire, time, illusion, and space. Only one aura can be used each time, and there will be a cooldown of 20 seconds when changing between auras. Aura of Earth. Requires 2 billion EXP to level up. Defense increased by 100%. Damage taken reduced by 50%. Activatable skill dash. Absolute domain. Become immune to all damage for 10 seconds. All allies within a 50-yard radius become immune to all damage for 5 seconds. Cooldown, 2 minutes. Aura of Water. Requires 2 billion EXP to level up. Healing effects increased by 100%. Cast consumption reduced by 50%. Activatable skill dash. Life domain. Heals all allies within a 50-yard radius for 10% of their HP every second for 30 seconds. Cooldown, 3 minutes. Aura of Wind. Requires 2 billion EXP to level up. Movement speed increased by 80%. Attack speed increased by 60%. Reaction speed increased by 20%. Activatable skill dash. Gale domain. Enables temporary flight and movement speed increase of 300% and reduces the movement speed of all enemies within a 100-yard radius by 50% for 30 seconds. Cooldown, 3 minutes. Aura of Fire. Requires 2 billion EXP to level up. Damage increased by 50%. Target's defense reduced by 80%. Activatable skill dash. Flame domain. Inflicts 1500% damage within a 60-yard radius for 7 seconds. Damage upscales by 20% every second. Cooldown, 5 minutes. Aura of Time. Requires 3 billion EXP to level up. Cooldown of all skills reduced by 50%. Enemies within a 200-yard radius will have their movement speed and attack speed reduced by 40%, and cooldown of skills increased by 50%. Activatable skill dash. Forbidden domain. Prevents enemies within a 500-yard radius from using any skills or tools for 30 seconds. Cooldown, 3 minutes. Aura of Illusion. Requires 3 billion EXP to level up. All attributes increased by 40%. Enemies within a 200-yard radius will have all their attributes reduced by 40%. Activatable skill dash. Fantasy domain. Immunity to all magic damage and 20% of magic damage received will be converted to healing to recover player's HP for 20 seconds. For 180 seconds, all negative effects within a 100-yard radius will be removed. Cooldown, 3 minutes. Aura of Space. Requires 3 billion EXP to level up. Immunity to all control and restricting effects. Activatable skill 1 dash. Space movement. Instantly move to any location within a radius of 600,000 yards. Cooldown, 3 minutes. Activatable skill 2 dash. Spatial gate. Opens a spatial gate that allows players to go through it. Spatial gate can be connected to any location within a 300,000 yard radius. Spatial gate will stay open for 1 minute. Cooldown, 20 minutes. Although the 7 Luminaries ring's basic attributes were subpar for a fragmented legendary item, even inferior to the Heavenly Dragon's Breath, all players dreamed of using its activatable skills. The skills were useful in nearly all aspects of battle. Most importantly, these skills wouldn't only benefit the user as they also benefited one's allies. The aura of Space's new skill, Spatial Gate, was particularly useful as it could allow the ring's user to take a player team with them wherever they wished. With this skill, traveling to dangerous maps to farm bosses would become much easier. After all, 300,000 yards was the equivalent of an average leveling map. Spatial Gate. Shi Feng's lips curled into a smile as he read this new skill. I had thought that claiming the Manatite vein was going to be troublesome. It seems I've just saved myself a lot of time. The Sea of Death's Manatite vein was not that easy to obtain. He had planned to secure a group instantaneous teleportation scroll, but it seemed that he no longer needed to. When Shi Feng re-equipped the 7 Luminaries ring, it felt as if the power of an ancient beast welled within him. Moreover, his mind became much clearer and more active than before. Is this the ring's hidden effect? Shi Feng was surprised to notice the surrounding mana converge towards him. Although the affected area wasn't large, only 2 yards around his body, the mana density was roughly 30% higher than normal. Despite such a low percentage, it shouldn't be taken for granted. In a high mana density environment, the results would be staggering. Following which, Shi Feng's fist shot out in a mock punch. Peng! He heard an explosion as his fist created a gust of wind that extended up to 10 yards away. My strength and speed can match a great lord of the same level now. Shi Feng balled his fist as he estimated his current strength. Previously, he had nearly had as much strength as a great lord of the same level. Now, he was certain that his strength was on par with a great lord's. Although there did not seem to be a huge difference between the two, the gap was massive. If his strength were only close to rivaling a great lord of the same level, he'd receive a lot of damage in a head-on confrontation. Without a healer's support, it was only a matter of time before the monster whittled him down as monsters had far more HP than players. However, if he had truly reached the Great Lord standard, his battle recovery could make up for the damage he took in a one-on-one fight. He could fight until he ran out of stamina. Meanwhile, as long as he dealt enough damage, he could solo a Great Lord without any special tricks. He could now fight foes of a higher tier. In the past, he had envied Apex experts and their frighteningly high attributes, yet now, he stood among them upon reaching Tier 2. If the Apex experts in his past knew about this, their jaws would hit the ground. Now that I've completed my quest, it's about time to visit Shaolin. Shi Feng smiled, satisfied. Before he left the Adventurers Association, though, he hid the 7 Luminaries ring's hidden effect. Otherwise, he would attract a lot of attention even with a black cloak. As soon as Shi Feng left the Adventurers Association, he received a call from Melancholic Smile. Guild leader, the assassins I've dispatched have discovered a large group of evil demons. There are 3 times as many as those that assaulted our patrol teams. By the looks of it, their target seems to be an NPC merchant fleet, Melancholic Smile anxiously reported. When she had taken over Stone Forest Town's management, she had learned just how important the NPC merchant fleets were to the town. Without these NPC merchant fleets, Stone Forest Town would lose all sorts of special merchandise. If NPC merchants stopped visiting the town's popularity growth would slow to a crawl. To put it simply, the NPC merchant fleets were crucial to Stone Forest Town's promotion. However, these NPC merchant fleets normally hired both NPC and player guards, making them difficult to mug. They simply weren't opponents current players could go up against. However, with so many evil demons participating in the assault, these NPC merchant fleets could suffer defeat. They're targeting the NPCs already? Shi Feng smiled faintly. Good. I can use this opportunity as a test. Guild leader, do you really intend to solo all of those evil demons? Melancholic Smile was stunned. The idea was simply too reckless. The opponent consisted of over 100 evil demons, including great lords. Even a 100-man expert team would risk extermination, much less a single player. Relax. Send me the coordinates. Also, tell the assassins to be a little more careful and avoid discovery at all costs. Those evil demons have very sharp senses, Shifeng said as he tried to soothe melancholic Smile's panic. He then disconnected the call and retrieved a guild transfer scroll from his bag. He then transformed into a streak of light before vanishing. Chapter 1375, Display of Strength. Chapter 1375, Display of Strength. Chapter 1375, Display of Strength. Starmoon City region, in one of the forested valleys in the Stoneclaw Mountains. A fleet of carriages rolled along the gravel road as it passed through the valley. From the top of a mountain, one could easily spot over 50 carriages. Among them, the most inferior carriage was an advanced transport carriage pulled by 2 horses. Meanwhile, the carriages carried all sorts of large crates containing rare merchandise to be sold in Stone Forest Town. Due to Stone Forest Town's Adventurers Association, the town had attracted far more wandering merchants. Moreover, Saimu Town was no longer the only town connected to Stone Forest Town. A total of 3 towns now had roads leading to the guild town. However, the 2 new trade routes weren't as lively as the road linked to Saimu Town since the other 2 towns were further away. Regardless, due to the increase of wandering merchants traveling to Stone Forest Town, the 3 NPC towns began to receive more high-rank escort quests. Although escort quests did not award a lot of EXP, they did offer plenty of coins. To independent players, these quests offered a considerable income. Moreover, players who just so happened to plan on heading to Stone Forest Town could rake in some additional income while they were at it, killing 2 birds with 1 stone. However, such a profitable opportunity was not available to everyone as escort quests had a minimum strength requirement. Moreover, the larger a merchant fleet was, the higher the requirements were. As for how these NPC merchants determined if a player were strong enough, said player would be required to spar with the fleet's NPC guards. The main god system would automatically lower the guard's strength to the standard of elite players at this stage of the game. If the player defeated the NPC guards, they could accept the escort quest. If a player wanted to become the merchant fleet's vice leader, receiving greater pay, they needed to defeat an NPC guard adjusted to the standard of current expert players. In the Stoneclaw Mountains Valley, over 100 players accompanied this merchant fleet. Even without the NPC guard's aid, the escort players easily defeated any monsters the fleet came across. Even monster groups led by a level 45 Great Lord were no match for these players. "Commander, are we really going to buy a private house in Stone Forest Town this time?" A grey-robed woman with long, crimson hair asked the man with disheveled hair seated next to her in one of the transport carriages. This charming woman's question quickly attracted the attention of the other players in the carriage. These players weren't only focused on the woman because of her beauty. Rather, it was because this woman was a level 43 summoner. She was also the vice commander of Firecloud Fox, a well-known adventurer team from the Black Dragon Empire, and one of the Empire's top 100 summoners. Graceful Moon. Many of the Black Dragon Empire's large guilds wanted to recruit Graceful Moon. Unfortunately, none of them had ever succeeded. As for the disheveled, cool-looking man, his identity was even more astounding. His name was Remnant Cloud, the Firecloud Fox's commander. Similarly, he was one of the top 100 shield warriors within the Empire. It was due to such a powerful MT that Firecloud Fox had grown into a large-scale adventurer team with over 500 members and a reputation known throughout the Black Dragon Empire. "I plan to look around first. If Stone Forest Town is as impressive as the rumors make it out to be, buying a house wouldn't be a bad idea," Remnant Cloud said, chuckling. Stone Forest Town was considerably famous in the Black Dragon Empire. One of the main reasons for its popularity was the battle arena. Recently, quite a few experts had earned themselves a spot among the top 100 on the Black Dragon Empire's various class ranking lists. After some research, many other players discovered that these newcomers shared one similarity: they all trained in Stone Forest Town's battle arena. Moreover, these players' ranks in the Empire continued to rise. Because of this, Stone Forest Town's battle arena had become quite popular in the Black Dragon Empire. To improve his team members' strength, Remnant Cloud had decided to make the trip and investigate the town himself. "Commander, it's fine if you just want to look around, but if you decide to purchase a private house, I suggest otherwise. I've heard that a war has recently broken out between Zero Wing and Heaven's Burial, and the latter seems to have the advantage. Furthermore, Heaven's Burial's Red Iron Town has more potential. Not only are there plenty of high-level and high-resource maps nearby, but players will also be able to use Evernite City as a transfer point between the guild's other towns in the future. Investing in Red Iron Town will be more convenient than investing in Stone Forest Town. As for the battle arena, currently, other guilds have already begun to construct battle arenas in their own towns. It is only a matter of time before they catch up with Stone Forest Town's battle arena." Graceful Moon did not view Stone Forest Town's future in a particularly positive light. In her opinion, the town only had a few minor advantages at the moment. However, as time passed, the various large guilds' towns in the Black Dragon Empire would undoubtedly catch up. After all, the Black Dragon Empire was far more prosperous than Star Moon Kingdom. Even if their adventurer team wanted to purchase a private house in Star Moon Kingdom, considering their long-term development, purchasing a house in Red Iron Town was the wiser choice. "I guess you're right. But since we're already here, let's go take a look." After giving the matter some thought, Remnant Cloud saw the reasoning in Graceful Moon's words. Various guild towns were already prioritizing their battle arenas. As for the mana density, these guilds were doing their best to find solutions. They would deal with the problem sooner or later. While Graceful Moon and Remnant Cloud conversed, they heard a commotion in the forest on both sides of the gravel road. Suddenly, easily over 1,000 pitch-black figures darted out of the dense woods. Not only did these figures block the merchant fleet's path, but they had also surrounded the carriages. Upon seeing these monsters, the escorting players prepared for battle. These monsters were nothing like the wild monsters they had faced on the road thus far. Every one of these monsters radiated a frightening aura, their eyes containing human-like wisdom. Moreover, their levels were shockingly high. These monsters were all level 70, roughly 25 levels higher than the monsters the merchant fleet had previously encountered. How is this possible? Didn't they say that these evil demons only assaulted passing players? Why are they targeting the merchant fleets? Some escort players from Star Moon Kingdom recognized the evil demons immediately. After all, they had seen these evil demons siege Stone Forest Town. These monsters' attacks on Stone Forest Town's players was nothing new, either. What surprised these players was that these evil demons actually dared to assault an NPC fleet. Aside from the escort players, a large number of NPC guards protected the merchant fleet. Each one of these guards was level 80, and among them were 3 Tier 3 guards, over 60 Tier 2 guards, and over 100 Tier 1 guards. They were not existences current players could easily defeat. Before these players could recover from their shock, the evil demons surged forward. "Ha ha ha. Go. Destroy the merchandise." Ghost Shadow, hiding amongst the trees, laughed as he watched his legion surround the merchant fleet. To ensure the fleet's destruction, Heaven's Burial had dispatched the Ghost Shadow Legion's elites, and Beast Emperor had sent them an evil demon army to assist. 2 level 70, Grand Lord ranked evil demons led the army. Given enough time, they could certainly eliminate the NPC merchant fleet. Although the evil demons' levels were lower than the NPCs, they had the numerical advantage. Moreover, they didn't need to kill the NPCs, their goal was simply to kill the players and destroy the cargo. Damn it! Why are there so many powerful monsters? Graceful Moon's eyebrows rose in surprise. Not only did the level 70 chieftain-ranked evil demons easily defeat her summoned creatures, but they also dodged her spirit bullets. If not for Remnant Cloud activating a berserk skill and life-saving skill to hold the evil demons back, the monsters would have long since closed in on her. The other players weren't as lucky. Despite the battle beginning only a brief moment ago, over a dozen players had already died. On this kind of battlefield, these players were utterly useless. They were slaughtered like ants. "Moon, get out of here. I'll hold them back." Remnant Cloud barked. He could tell that only death awaited them should they stay. They couldn't win a battle of this level. But, although Graceful Moon wanted to argue, when she saw a High Lord overwhelm her commander, she took out an instantaneous movement scroll and activated it. A futile struggle. Ghost Shadow growled disdainfully when he noticed several players removing instantaneous movement scrolls from their bags. Before they had taken action, he had used a tool Beast Emperor had given him to seal the area, making it impossible for players to escape via return scrolls or instantaneous movement scrolls. Why did it fail? Graceful Moon's expression darkened when she realized that she was still on the battlefield even after the instantaneous movement scroll had disintegrated. As for Remnant Cloud, despite barely holding on thanks to a healer's help, it would only be a matter of minutes before he died as more evil demons descended on their prey. When Remnant Cloud had less than 20% HP remaining, a Great Lord-ranked evil demon circled the man, swinging its claws at the shield warrior. Remnant Cloud was already doing everything he could to block the evil demon's attacks from the front. He did not have any spare power to protect his back. "Commander," Graceful Moon gasped. "Am I going to die, just like this?" Remnant Cloud understood that there was no escaping death when he noticed the Great Lord behind him. Suddenly, a spatial tear appeared between Remnant Cloud and the evil demon, and a figure leaped onto the battlefield. However, despite the spatial tear's abrupt appearance, the evil demon's attack did not falter in the least. "Be careful," Remnant Cloud shouted. He could faintly tell that the figure behind him was a player. Unfortunately, only 3 yards separated this figure and the evil demon. Not even an expert could react in time to block such an unexpected attack from a Great Lord with so little distance between them. However, when the evil demon's claws were less than 1 yard away from the newcomer, a blue glow blossomed on the evil demon's body. Like a cannonball, the Great Lord-ranked evil demon shot backward, crossing a dozen yards before crashing into a large tree. A second after the impact, the towering tree fell to the ground. As for the figure that emerged from the spatial tear, he remained where he had stood, his calm composure making it seem as if nothing had happened. Chapter 1376, The 7 Luminaries Rings Power. Chapter 1376, The 7 Luminaries Rings Power. Chapter 1376, The 7 Luminaries Rings Power. When the Great Lord-ranked evil demon's body hit the ground, the battlefield fell silent. How is that possible? Graceful Moon wore an incredulous look as she stared at the evil demon sprawled in the dirt. Turning her gaze towards Shifeng, she muttered, "Just what did he do?" Without using any special tricks or magic arrays, contending with a level 70 Great Lord was impossible for current players. Even if Remnant Cloud, Firecloud Fox's commander, activated his Berserk skill and life-saving skill, he'd be lucky to survive even a moment against such an advisory, much less throw such a monster over a dozen yards. Graceful Moon wasn't the only one shocked. Every player that had witnessed the scene was stupefied. That can't be a player, right? What is going on? No, that's not right. There's a green marker above his head. He must be a player. Who is that? Everyone's gaze fixed on Shifeng. For a moment, they tried to guess the man's identity, both curious and surprised. "Fellow friend, hurry and leave this place. There are too many monsters here," Remnant Cloud advised as he turned to Shifeng, who stood behind him. Although he hadn't seen how the even demon had been thrown, not one of the experts he was familiar with were capable of sending a level 70 Great Lord flying. With such strength, Shifeng could definitely shatter the evil demon's encirclement. "You want to leave?" Ghost Shadow, still hiding in the forest, sneered as he asked, "Do you think you can?" Although Shifeng's counterattack had surprised him, that was all. Since Shifeng had already joined the battle, he shouldn't cling to any hope of leaving alive. After all, Shifeng had only used some special method to knock back the Great Lord. The swordsman was not truly capable of defeating one. Moreover, more than 10 Great Lords participated in this operation. If one was not enough, he simply needed to send 2 more at the newcomer. As Remnant Cloud was about to warn Shifeng of this, one of the nearby Great Lords and 5 Lord-ranked evil demons dashed towards the swordsman, dark fog wrapping around their claws as they swiped at Shifeng. To make matters worse, the evil demon's coordination was only slightly inferior to expert players. Seeing this, Remnant Cloud frowned. Even as a shield warrior, he could only stand against 3 evil demons at once. No swordsman could block 6 evil demons simultaneously without activating a life-saving skill. However, just as the 6 evil demons were about to land their attacks, a galaxy of stars appeared around Shifeng, radiating a brilliant blue glow. Compared to Shifeng's previous executions, his current sword's orbit was more complete and beautiful. Peng! 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 When the blue glow illuminated the area, the 6 evil demons were instantly sent flying by over 20 yards. They hadn't even managed to reach the edge of Shifeng's cloak, much less deal any damage. Meanwhile, each of the 6 evil demons had instantly lost over 20,000 HP, with some losing nearly 50,000 HP due to a critical hit. As evil demons had much less HP than ordinary monsters, their HP bars had decreased significantly. This remnant cloud was dumbfounded. Shifeng's previous feat of throwing a great lord could have been brushed off as a powerful skill. Now, however, Shifeng had launched 6 evil demons with a single move. Even an experienced expert like Remnant Cloud could not help his surprise. Meanwhile, Shifeng, who remained in his original position, glanced down at the abyssal blade, astonished. After upgrading the abyssal blade, the magic weapon had gained the passive skill Abyssal Will, which improved his physique depending on the surrounding mana density. Due to the 7 luminaries ring, the mana density around him had increased considerably, which, in turn, improved his physique further. If not for the combination of these factors, he would not have executed such a perfect sword's orbit. I wonder how this move will fare. Shifeng suddenly vanished. Void steps. He disappeared. Where did he go? Did he leave? That's not right. He was using 2 one-handed swords. He should either be a berserker or a swordsman. How could he possibly be an assassin? Was he a ghost? Before everyone could recover from their shock, Shifeng's sudden disappearance surprised them once more. Impossible. I've already sealed the area. Players can only enter, not leave. Ghost Shadow's eyes widened in surprise. Quickly, he turned to look around the battlefield, trying to locate the swordsman. But no matter how he searched, he couldn't find the player. As players began to wonder if they had hallucinated, a figure appeared behind the 3 evil demons that Remnant Cloud faced. Fresh blood fountained from the 3 evil demons' bodies as they curled like shrimp and flew over 20 yards away. So fast. By the time Remnant Cloud realized what had happened, the 3 evil demons before him had disappeared. When he tried to get a good look at his savior, he realized that the figure before him was only an afterimage. In the blink of an eye, Shifeng reappeared over a dozen yards away. Once again, 4 evil demons were struck and sent flying. In such a way, Shifeng's figure vanished and reappeared all over the battlefield. Each time he appeared, his attacks sent several evil demons through the air. He seemed like a deadly ghost on the battlefield. Commander, just who is that? Graceful Moon could not help but ask as she watched Shifeng's afterimages flood the road. She had encountered and fought many experts in the Black Dragon Empire. She had even sparred with the Empire's top 10 experts. Although she hadn't been a match for those players, she could estimate how much of a difference separated them. However, as she watched Shifeng, she couldn't fathom how vast the gap was between this man and herself. She felt as if she were staring into a bottomless abyss. I don't know, either. Remnant Cloud smiled bitterly. Once Shifeng had thrown over 300 evil demons, he stopped 50 yards away from the battlefield. He seemed like he had just casually strolled through the area, coming and going with ease. My physique should have improved by nearly 10%. Shifeng rejoiced as he glanced at his abyssal blade. Although the burden of using void steps so many times consecutively was great, it wasn't intolerable due to his high attributes and physique. Moreover, executing void steps was now easier than ever before thanks to the high mana density encasing his body. His current location's average density was the only limiting factor. If he fought in a high mana density environment, the effects would be unimaginable. After a short pause, the 300+ evil demons that he sent flying charged at him like maniacs. The weakest among these evil demons was a chieftain, and the charge included 8 great lords. His insane. He aggroed so many evil demons. Remnant Cloud's eyes twitched as he watched the evil demons stampede towards Shifeng. He could not fathom what Shifeng intended to accomplish by luring so many monsters. When the evil demons were within 30 yards, Shifeng smiled faintly as he thrust the abyssal blade into the ground. Abyssal curse. A pitch-black light pillar emerged from within the evil demon group, extending into the sky. The pillar then expanded to a radius of 30 yards, preventing all evil demons within range from moving. Even the Great Lord-ranked evil demons felt as if they had just stepped in mud. No matter how hard they struggled, they couldn't break free. Moreover, their attributes were rapidly reducing. Following which, a frightening amount of mana gathered around one of Shifeng's hands, a crimson magic array forming above his palm. He then directed the magic array at the army before him. Flame Domain. A twofold, crimson magic array formed in the center of the evil demon army, crimson shockwaves radiating from the center. Before everyone could figure out what was happening, a towering pillar of fire rose up from the ground, forming a mountain of flame as it enveloped every evil demon that had charged at the swordsman. The scorching fire ripped pained screams from the evil demons' throats as their HP plummeted. Initially, the evil demons had lost around 350,000 HP. In the next second, they lost over 400,000 HP. Then, they lost another 500,000 HP. By the time the flames scattered, the Lord-ranked evil demons had less than half their HPs remaining. The chieftains had been utterly annihilated. The fire's horrific damage had stupefied the witnesses. However, before these players could recover their senses, Shifeng followed up Flame Domain with Lightning Blade, dealing another a heavy blow. Following which, he took out 2 Tier 3, large-scale destruction magic scrolls and used them consecutively against the remaining evil demons. In the end, all 300+ evil demons turned to dust. Suddenly, a golden glow flashed on Shifeng's body as he rose from level 55 to level 56. Chapter 1377, He is Black Flame. Chapter 1377, He is Black Flame. Chapter 1377, He is Black Flame. Amazing. Just who is this guy? The players still fighting the evil demon army gaped when they saw Shifeng turn over 300 evil demons to dust in just a few moments. A single chieftain-ranked evil demon could easily kill any one of them. If not for the level 80 NPC guards, they would have long since been annihilated. Yet, the mysterious, cloaked swordsman before them had slaughtered these evil demons as if he were grinding common monsters. It was an extravagant grinding method. Evil demons weren't like ordinary monsters. They did not drop any loot, only offering slightly higher EXP. Setting aside the fire spell Shifeng had used, the 2 Tier 3, large-scale destruction magic scrolls could easily sell for over 1,000 gold. With that kind of money, a player could purchase a valuable plot of land in an NPC city. Moreover, even with enough money, Tier 3 magic scrolls weren't easy to purchase, much less large-scale destruction magic scrolls. In reality, however, Shifeng hadn't wasted the 2 scrolls. Chieftain rank evil demons had a considerably high chance of dropping evil energy crystals. In Shifeng's previous life, a single crystal had sold for 10 gold on the market. Among the evil demons that he had killed, over 100 had dropped evil energy crystals. Not only had he earned back the money for the scrolls, but he had also made a profit. Damn it! Where did this person come from? Ghost Shadow frowned, his expression grim as he stared at the distant Shifeng. Evil demons feared large-scale destructions spells almost more than anything. Unlike ordinary monsters, although evil demons had very high combat power, they didn't have a lot of HP. Even a level 70, Grand Lord-ranked evil demon only had 35 million HP, not to mention the Great Lords and below. Commander, what should we do? We've lost nearly 1/3 of our evil demons. At this rate, it will be difficult to destroy the merchant fleet, a level 42 assassin, clad in blue, asked worriedly. Powerful magic barriers protected the NPC's carriages. Breaking a single barrier would take some time. In addition, the magic barriers buffed the nearby NPC guards. With these buffs, the 3 level 80, Tier 3 NPC guards were ridiculously powerful. They needed only a short time to kill Great Lord-ranked evil demons. Only the Grand Lord-ranked evil demons were a threat. Yet, Shifeng had eliminated nearly 1/3 of their forces. This wasn't in the plans. He must be sick of living. He dares to treat Heaven's Burial's evil demons as EXP. Use our trump cards. Have the 2 Grand Lords prioritize that player. Lead 3 parties and assist the monsters from the side. Do not let him get away. Ghost Shadow growled, sneering. Understood. The blue-clad assassin immediately went into action. The Ghost Shadow Legion members, who had been hiding in the forest, snuck towards the Tier 3 NPC guards with bluish-purple scrolls. When they were less than 30 yards away from the Tier 3 NPCs, they revealed themselves and unfurled the scrolls. Suddenly, 3 purplish-gold magic barriers, each manned by 36 players, appeared and trapped the 3 Tier 3 NPCs and a large number of Tier 2 NPCs, freeing the evil demons from their opponents. No matter how these NPC guards struggled against the barriers, the purplish-gold walls didn't waver in the slightest. As for the 2 Grand Lord-ranked evil demons, which suddenly found themselves without an opponent, they promptly left behind after-images as they darted for Shifeng. The sudden development inspired despair in the defending players. The evil demons alone were more than they could handle. Now, hundreds of assassin players had joined the battle. Even Remnant Cloud, someone who had experienced many fierce battles, could not help his bitter smile. The fact that several hundred players had emerged to attack them proved that someone was in command of these evil demons. There was a huge difference between monsters under a player's command and those that were not. After factoring in the several hundred assassin players, his people had no chance of surviving this fight. As for their savior, Shifeng, he needed to face off against 2 level 70 Grand Lords. Unfortunately, the swordsman would be lucky to keep his own life, let alone help them. The Grand Lord-ranked evil demons were incredibly fast. Upon reaching Shifeng, they swiped their fog-clad claws at the player. These Grand Lords were far superior to their Great Lord cousins in terms of both strength and speed. In addition, they executed rapid switch while coordinating with each other. Not daring to be careless, Shifeng activated Heavenly Dragon's power, increasing his strength by 150%, agility by 60%, defense by 300%, and HP by 500%. Instantly, his maximum HP shot past the 400,000 threshold. He then executed Sword's Orbit, creating a perfect defense around himself. Boom! 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 As blades and claws clashed, explosions rang out across the battlefield. With each collision, the ground beneath Shifeng and the Grand Lord's feet trembled. Even players 30 yards away from the fight could feel intense shockwaves. Both sides exchanged attacks so rapidly that it was impossible for the naked eye to keep up with them. All anyone could see was the ground sink as the impacts formed a crater. The residual power of Shifeng and the Grand Lord's attacks also left numerous furrows in the dirt around them. Seeing this, the nearby assassins, who had intended to ambush Shifeng, hesitated, afraid of getting caught in the crossfire. For a moment, the scene stupefied every player on the battlefield. How was this even a battle between a player and monsters? This was practically a monster-on-monster fight. How is that possible? Ghost Shadow, who had lain in wait to ambush the swordsman, could not believe his eyes when he saw Shifeng holding his ground against the 2 Grand Lord-ranked evil demons. Despite being just a player, Shifeng could fight 2 level 70 Grand Lords to a standstill. No one would ever believe this. In reality, Shifeng was rather proud. After upgrading the 7 Luminaries ring, he only needed to activate 1 Berserk skill to raise his strength to a level 70, Grand Lord-ranked evil demons level. Factoring in his reaction speed and physique, he could contend with 2 Grand Lords with only Sword's Orbit. However, continuing the fight at this rate was not an option. Shifeng could feel his stamina and concentration depleting. Even though his battle recovery could mitigate the Grand Lord's damage, it did nothing to recover the lost stamina and concentration. Before Heavenly Dragon's power's duration ended, he'd run out of stamina and concentration. Following which, Shifeng activated Divine Steps and switched positions with one of his doppelgangers, temporarily distancing himself from the 2 evil demons. He then retrieved 2 Summon Guard scrolls from his bag and began to summon Anna and Kite. Although the Grand Lord-ranked evil demons were relatively fragile compared to ordinary monsters of the same rank, each still had 35 million HP. With their incredible reaction speed, they could also dodge or block a large portion of his attacks. If this were a one-on-one fight, he might have a chance to kill the evil demon using only Heavenly Dragon's power. In a two-on-one situation, however, he had no hope of defeating the evil demons with a single berserk skill. Shortly after, Anna, level 75, and Kite, level 74, appeared beside Shifeng. Anna and Kite's appearance immediately attracted everyone's attention. Crap. Am I seeing things? That guy actually has a level 75 personal guard. When they saw Anna's level, the players gasped. The highest leveled personal guard they knew of was only level 69. They had never even heard of a personal guard reaching level 70, much less level 75. Moreover, both NPCs wore brilliant equipment. When Ghost Shadow saw Anna and Kite, a familiar sensation struck him. After going through his memories, these two NPCs seemed very similar to the two powerful personal guards that had appeared during Heaven's Burial's first assault against Stone Forest Town. Only the NPCs' weapons and equipment were different. Ghost Shadow's calm expression changed abruptly. "Commander, what happened?" the blue-clad assassin asked curiously. "Crap. He is Black Flame," Ghost Shadow exclaimed. Chapter 1378, Kill. Chapter 1378, Kill. Black Flame. When the other Ghost Shadow Legion members heard their leader's realization, they could not help but shift their gazes onto the distant Shifeng, their mouths falling wide open as a chill crawled down their backs. Black Flame's fame had long since spread throughout the kingdom. Many players even treated his battle records like classics. He was Star Moon Kingdom's undisputed #1 expert. However, Black Flame's tracks were always a mystery. Even Zero Wing's inner members did not know Black Flame's whereabouts. They had only heard of Black Flame's strength, that he was akin to a monster. They had thought the rumors were just exaggerations. However, it would seem that the real deal was even greater than the rumors had made him out to be. After all, Black Flame could actually hold his ground against two level 70, Great Lord ranked evil demons by himself. This was simply too terrifying. "Commander, isn't this a good chance to kill Black Flame?" the blue-clad assassin asked with a smile. "We haven't received any reports of Stone Forest Town mobilizing forces. Black Flame must be acting on his own this time. Although Black Flame is monstrously strong, at the end of the day, he is only one person, and we still have many evil demons. We can use them to wear him down. His death will be far more meaningful than destroying an NPC merchant fleet." Hearing this, everyone's eyes suddenly glowed with excitement. They all agreed with the blue-clad assassin. If they were here without their demonic support, it would be impossible to deal with Black Flame, but the Ghost Shadow Legion was backed by the evil demon army. They even had two Grand Lords. This was a heaven-sent opportunity to kill Black Flame. If they defeated Black Flame, the blow to Zero Wing's reputation would be far more severe than simply destroying an NPC merchant fleet. Indeed, this is a golden opportunity. Ghost Shadow nodded his agreement. "Notify everyone to gather at our location immediately. Order the Lord-ranked evil demons and above to keep an eye on Black Flame, as well. Do not let him get away." Black Flame had already used his berserk skill. Once the duration ended, with the evil demon army attacking head-on and the Ghost Shadow Legion assisting from the sides, they would take the swordsman's life. Upon receiving Ghost Shadow's command, the Ghost Shadow Legion members assisting the evil demons in destroying the fleet left their positions and stealthily surrounded Shifeng. The 100-plus Lord-ranked evil demons remaining also shifted their focus towards the player. Remnant Cloud and the other defending players sighed with relief. What's going on? Are they giving up? As she watched the Ghost Shadow Legion's assassins withdraw, Graceful Moon was confused. Had those assassins continued their assault, they would have been defeated. She watched as hundreds of Lord-ranked evil demons and above charged for Shifeng, shock and lamentation filling her heart. Given enough time, she was confident in becoming one of the top 10 summoners in the Black Dragon Empire, yet it was obvious that their attackers didn't view her or the other guard players as important. Otherwise, they wouldn't have switched targets so suddenly at such a crucial moment. She was a little frustrated at being looked down on. Moreover, Was it really necessary to send so many players and lords against a single player? Good. All Great Lord ranked evil demons, distract Black Flame's personal guards while the other evil demons focus on Black Flame. Everyone else, find an opportunity to land a killing blow. Ghost Shadow gave out the command to attack once his people were in place. Unlike the prior attack, the evil demons put more space between themselves. Even if Shifeng had more large-scale destruction spells, he couldn't put them to good use. Furthermore, he wouldn't have another opportunity to use a magic scroll with the two Grand Lords distracting him. Roar. With Ghost Shadow's command, over a dozen Great Lord-ranked evil demons charged at Anna and Kite, while the other evil demons dashed for Shifeng. The level 40+ assassin experts nearby stealthily approached their target as well. Black Flame, today will be your funeral, Ghost Shadow exclaimed as he watched the Grand Lords force Shifeng into a defensive position. Quite a few superpowers had attempted to kill Shifeng, but none had succeeded. Today, however, he would put an end to Zero Wing's legend. Crap, everyone's coming for me. Shifeng, who had activated omniscient eyes to scout for ambushes, discovered countless evil demons and players around him. Moreover, these evil demons and players aimed for his life. Dealing with the two Grand Lords had only become easier after he had summoned Anna and Kite. If so many evil demons and players joined into the fight right now, he'd be in trouble. Seeing the evil demon army and player army inch closer, Shifeng switched the aura of fire to the aura of time. Forbidden Domain. A silvery grey space formed in a 500-yard radius around him. The skill prevented all enemies in range from using skills or tools for 30 seconds. It also decreased enemies' movement speed and attack speed by 40% within 200 yards of him. Due to this forbidden domain, the stealthed assassins were promptly exposed. The dark fog that shrouded the evil demon's claws also disappeared. The Ghost Shadow Legion panicked when they realized they had lost their ability to use skills and tools. Assassins were powerful was because of their skills' damage and control effects. If they couldn't use their skills, they were practically crippled. They wouldn't even be able to exhibit 30% of their true combat power. What are you afraid of? This silencing skill will only last a short moment. Charge. No matter what, he mustn't escape. Ghost Shadow shouted arrogantly. While not being able to use skills and tools was a disadvantage, they wouldn't get another opportunity like this to kill him again if they failed. Hearing Ghost Shadow's words, the panicked assassins calmed quickly as they tightened the encirclement around Shifeng. They might not be able to exhibit their full strength right now, but the same wasn't true for the evil demons. Even if the evil demons couldn't use their skills, it would only affect their combat power slightly. There were more than enough evil demons to whittle Shifeng down. They could leave the offense to the demons while they contained Shifeng. Escape. Shifeng formed a sinister smile as he surveyed his surroundings. That smile made the Ghost Shadow Legion members shudder involuntarily as they realized that something felt off. However, before they could react, Anna, who stood beside Shifeng, finished reciting her incantation. Immediately, a massive, golden magic array appeared in the sky, its imposing appearance visible to anyone within 500 yards. Following which, a golden armored Valkyrie descended from the array. The moment the level 75 Valkyrie appeared, a powerful aura washed over the battlefield like a tidal wave. The Ghost Shadow Legion felt an unprecedented pressure weigh them down. Crap. Everyone, retreat. When Ghost Shadow saw the Valkyrie, he instantly understood the meaning behind Shifeng's sinister smile. Shifeng hadn't used a silencing skill to escape. Rather, he had used the skill to prevent them from escaping. Even without Ghost Shadow's warning, the Ghost Shadow Legion members had already turned and fled. Unfortunately, the Valkyrie already held a spear of thunder. She then swept the spear towards her targets. Countless arcs of golden lightning streaked forward, dealing devastating damage to everything within 150 yards in a cone-shaped area. The Valkyrie used the Tier 4 skill, Roaring Thunder. She also dealt double damage against dark creatures. As a result, the fragile Lord-ranked evil demons died on the spot. Only the High Lords and above barely survived. As for the players within range, not even their bodies remained after the attack. Chapter 1379 Unstoppable. Chapter 1379 Unstoppable. Chapter 1379 Unstoppable. As the golden lightning dissipated, it revealed a large clearing on the road. Despite the Ghost Shadow Legion members having spread out, over 100 members had died instantly under the Valkyrie's merciless assault. As for Ghost Shadow, who hid a short distance away, he turned deathly pale upon seeing the devastation. Over 40 Lord-ranked evil demons had died. Even level 80, Tier 3 NPCs would require quite some time to kill one level 70 Lord, yet the Valkyrie had done so in one hit. Although the High Lords caught in the attack hadn't died, they weren't far from death's door. 4 Great Lords had also sustained severe injuries, each one with a little over a third of their HP remaining. This frightening damage and destructive power were simply unparalleled. Ghost Shadow had never witnessed such an attack. The Valkyrie's strength stupefied everyone. For a moment, many of the surviving Ghost Shadow Legion members stood there in a daze, not knowing what to do. Attempting to escape was meaningless. Even if they tried to run, the Valkyrie would likely kill them before they reached the Forbidden Domain's boundaries. Don't panic. Spread out. The Valkyrie won't last very long. Such a powerful skill has to have a long cooldown. Maintain your distance and buy as much time as possible, Ghost Shadow hurriedly commanded. While the Valkyrie's combat power had exceeded Ghost Shadow's expectations, he was no ordinary player. He had fought countless battles to reach his current standards. Naturally, powerful boss monsters were among his many foes. Not only could he calm himself quickly, but he could also devise a plan to deal with the Valkyrie. After all, this wasn't his first time against the summoned creature. When the Valkyrie had joined the first siege battle in Stone Forest Town, her pros and cons had been revealed. As long as they were far enough apart, she couldn't wipe them out during the short time she could remain on the battlefield. Hearing Ghost Shadow's orders, his assassins exploded into action. They maintained a certain distance from the Valkyrie and each other. They sure reacted quickly. The Ghost Shadow Legion's reaction time surprised Shifeng slightly. If the enemy players had simply scattered, running for their lives like a chaotic mob, they would have been easy to slaughter. However, by deliberately maintaining a fixed distance from the Valkyrie and attracting her attention, the summoned angel could only kill a small number of their forces. However, the development didn't worry Shifeng. Instead, he commanded Anna indifferently. The NPC then changed another incantation and summoned 10 Rock Guardians. The Rock Guardians formed a magic barrier around the 2 Grand Lord-ranked evil demons, trapping them within. Meanwhile, the Valkyrie vanished and reappeared before the 2 Grand Lords, sweeping her spear of thunder horizontally. Before the 2 evil demons could react, they were sent flying over 20 yards away, slamming into the magic barrier. Their HP bars lost another large chunk. Crap. His aiming for the Grand Lords. Ghost Shadow's expression darkened as he watched the summons trap his 2 Grand Lords. Hurriedly, he shouted in the team chat, "Quick! Everyone, attack the magic barrier." Every Grand Lord-ranked evil demon was incredibly precious. Nurturing one was highly dependent on luck. Beast Emperor had only given Heaven's Burial 2 Grand Lord-ranked evil demons as trump cards to deal with Zero Wing. Each Grand Lord could easily annihilate a 100-man expert team on their own. If not for Singular Burial's demand that he destroy the NPC merchant fleet, he wouldn't have mobilized the 2 Grand Lords at all. It's too late. Shifeng smiled. He then activated Phantom Kill, 9 Dragon Slash, and Divine Providence. Shifeng, his doppelganger, and the Abyssal Blade Phantoms attacked the Grand Lords together. In front of the Valkyrie, the 2 Grand Lords were utterly powerless. Hence, Shifeng could attack to his heart's content. As the Valkyrie dealt double damage to dark creatures, each of her attacks caused over -1 million damage. When she used the Tier 4, single target skill, Judgment Spear, she could eliminate over 1/3 of the Grand Lord's HP. As for Shifeng, he possessed the Sacred Sword Killing Ray, which also dealt double damage to dark creatures. Factoring in Heavenly Dragon's power, each of his strikes easily dealt over -100,000 damage. After exhausting all 9 Shadow Blade attacks, he instantly devoured over 1 million HP from one of the evil demons. Although Shifeng's doppelganger only had 80% of his basic attributes, its damage shouldn't be underestimated, either. Anna and Kite also bombarded the Grand Lords. In less than 6 seconds, one of the 2 Grand Lord-ranked evil demons collapsed as its 35 million HP fell to 0. As it fell, it dropped several items and contributed an astronomical amount of EXP, pushing Shifeng very close to level 57. Quick! Destroy the barrier! Ghost Shadow's stomach churned with anxiety as he watched one of his Grand Lords die. However, despite both players and evil demons assaulting the magic barrier unhindered, the barrier remained intact. The Rock Guardians maintaining the barrier only lost a small amount of HP. It was clear that it would take some time to bring this barrier down. As a result, Ghost Shadow and the others watched helplessly as the other Grand Lord rapidly lost its HP. Of course, as time passed, the Valkyrie's summon duration dwindled. When the duration had only 1 second left, the Valkyrie began to fade. Meanwhile, the Grand Lord-ranked evil demon still had over 17 million HP remaining. Seeing this, Ghost Shadow breathed a sigh of relief. Without the Valkyrie suppression, Shifeng would have a difficult time dealing any significant damage to the evil demon. His 2 personal guards wouldn't change that. Shifeng would need a long time to kill the Grand Lord. His subordinates should break through the barrier before that happened. Die! Suddenly, Shifeng shouted as his 2 swords released a blinding light. A similar phenomenon occurred on his doppelganger's blades as well. Both Shifeng and his doppelganger then brandished their swords at the evil demon's back. Flame burst. Every strike dealt over -800,000 damage, with some doubling that due to a critical hit. By the time Shifeng and his doppelganger landed all 30 strikes, the evil demon's remaining 17 million plus HP had fallen to 0. Impossible. Ghost Shadow was stunned. Ghost Shadow wasn't the only one shocked. Shifeng's burst damage flabbergasted everyone on the Ghost Shadow Legion. He had wiped out over 17 million of a Grand Lord's HP in the blink of an eye. This kind of explosive power was simply unheard of for a player. Upon killing the second Grand Lord, Shifeng had also risen to level 57. Although both Grand Lords had dropped plenty of valuable loot, as Shifeng was still in the midst of a battle, he swept the items into his bag without sparing them a second look. "Commander, what should we do now?" the blue-clad assassin asked worriedly as he watched Shifeng inside the magic barrier. When he saw the man's smile, he could not help but shudder. If Shifeng could instantly kill a Grand Lord-ranked evil demon with half of its HP, who could possibly stop him on this battlefield? Retreat. This place is no longer safe for us. Ghost Shadow sighed helplessly. Although the Valkyrie was no more, they had lost their only combatants capable of contending with Shifeng. If they stayed and fought, they'd be nothing more than EXP and loot. Based on the strength the swordsman had displayed here, it was clear that attempting to kill him was futile. Chapter 1380 Fame Spreading Throughout Starmoon Kingdom. Chapter 1380 Fame Spreading Throughout Starmoon Kingdom. Chapter 1380 Fame Spreading Throughout Starmoon Kingdom. Hearing Ghost Shadow's order to retreat, the Ghost Shadow Legion members breathed a sigh of relief. They had lost the courage to face Shifeng. Shifeng had stood against a level 70 Grand Lord-ranked evil demon in a direct confrontation. Killing them would be child's play. It hadn't been easy for them to reach their current level, and if they died here, recovering their lost progress would be even more difficult. With Ghost Shadow's command, the evil demons and Ghost Shadow Legion fled, not daring to linger in this land of death for a second longer. Don't even think of escaping so easily. Seeing his opponents run, Shifeng pointed the abyssal blade at the sky and activated Skywheel Sword. Suddenly, golden, divine swords descended, one after another. All assassins caught in the rain of divine swords died instantly. 3 great lords and over a dozen lords were also within range of the AoE, unable to leave the area. Meanwhile, Shifeng's personal guards and doppelganger launched an assault on the Great Lord-ranked evil demons. Evil demons were not easy to produce, particularly the Grand Lords and above. Evil Gods Temple players treasured every one of these high-ranking evil demons dearly. Hence, Shifeng had prioritized the strongest evil demons first. As for Shifeng, he charged at the escaping players. While inside the forbidden domain, all enemies would receive a movement speed penalty. With his superior attributes, Shifeng could effortlessly catch the felling players. Taking these assassins' lives, who couldn't use skills or tools, was like taking candy from a baby. Every time he swung his sword, a player died. Moreover, Shifeng had already activated omniscient eyes, so he knew the situation within a 100-yard radius like the back of his hand. This made it much easier to track down the players that had escaped into the dense forest. Following which, Shifeng transformed into a black shadow as he darted around the battlefield, players screaming in agony as he passed before they transformed into particles of white light and vanished. The fleeing players paled with fear when they saw the horrific scene, shuddering uncontrollably. Their opponent was nothing like a player, but a death god harvesting lives as he listened to his praise screams. Even the guard players' blood ran cold. Despite facing an evil demon army and hundreds of level 40+ assassins by himself, Shifeng had actually forced his opponents to run for their lives after such a short battle. So strong. Who is that? So, this is a true expert player? Everyone stared in shock as they watched Shifeng chase down the last Ghost Shadow Legion members. They felt as if they were looking at a whole new world. The Ghost Shadow Legion members were all level 40+ assassins and equipped with top-tier weapons and equipment. To ordinary players, they were definitely experts, yet hundreds of these experts did everything they could to flee from a single player. Black Flame. Don't get too full of yourself. Do you really think we're afraid of you? Ghost Shadow, who stood in the distance, could not help but shout at Shifeng as he watched the swordsman slaughter his subordinates. The Ghost Shadow Legion members he had brought with him were the elite among elites. Nurturing each one of them had cost a lot of resources. Watching them fall, one after another, Ghost Shadow wanted nothing more than to charge in and kill Shifeng himself. However, he knew that he wasn't a match for the swordsman right now. He could only use the Lord-ranked evil demons to buy as much time as possible for his people to get away. Full of myself? Shifeng laughed. You're the ones who came to Stone Forest Town to rob our merchants. Do you really think that I'll let you leave alive? Shifeng's words echoed throughout the forest, the cold, killing intent lacing his words causing the escaping Ghost Shadow Legion members to shiver. Shifeng stopped holding back as he switched to the Aura of Wind and activated Gale Domain, increasing his movement speed as he decreased enemy movement speed within 100-yard radius by 50%. Suddenly, several players in the forest transformed into light particles and disappeared. The Lord-ranked evil demons couldn't even slow Shifeng. Although the escort players were some distance away from the fight, both Shifeng and Ghost Shadow had been quite loud. When they overheard the conversation, their jaws dropped. Practically everybody in Starmoon Kingdom had heard of Black Flame. But they had never imagined that he was so powerful. They had heard that Black Flame was only slightly stronger than first-rate guilds' top experts. However, he was clearly more than slightly stronger. What? That is Zero Wing's guild leader? I don't think it's a mistake. After all, he even admitted it. No wonder why he's so powerful. As expected of the Sword King, Black Flame, he sent hundreds of experts running for their lives by himself. He's too awesome. I have to join Zero Wing after this. Right, has anyone recorded the battle? I'll pay 10 silver for a copy. I recorded parts of it, but forget about the money. I'm going to upload it to the forums, so you can watch it later. What a pity. I should have snuck over and watched the fight between Black Flame and the two Grand Lords. For a moment, the players escorting the merchant fleet brimmed with excitement. They had never expected to witness Starmoon Kingdom's mythical character in action personally. Moreover, they got to watch this mythical character create another legend. Graceful Moon turned to Remnant Cloud and asked, "Commander, why don't we garrison our adventurer team in Stone Forest Town?" "What? You've changed your mind already?" Remnant Cloud teased when he saw the glimmer in Graceful Moon's eyes. In truth, he had the same thought. After all, Shifeng's battle had allowed him to witness a whole new world, and as an expert, he desperately wanted to learn more. He finally understood why the experts that had recently entered the top 100 class rankings in the Black Dragon Empire fixated on Stone Forest Town's battle arena. Of course, Graceful Moon responded without a shred of shame. On the contrary, she righteously declared, if Black Flame is this powerful, Zero Wing's other experts shouldn't be weaklings even if they're not as strong as he is. If we garrison in Stone Forest Town, we must sign a partnership contract with Zero Wing. We might even get to know those experts and get to spar with them. If we want to occupy Stone Forest Town, we'll have to prepare. I heard that the adventurer houses are not cheap. Remnant Cloud nodded, agreeing with Graceful Moon's reasoning. However, he had to consider how they would earn enough money. Once we complete this quest, we should return to the Empire and start preparing immediately. Firecloud Fox was more than capable of affording a private house in Stone Forest Town, but it was a different story if they wanted an adventurer house. They'd likely need several times more gold than what they currently possessed. Moreover, Stone Forest Town's houses would certainly become more expensive after this battle. Fortunately, he learned about the change early. If he had only discovered this after news hit the Black Dragon Empire, it would be more difficult to prepare enough coins. News of the battle quickly spread to Star Moon Kingdom's forums, and everyone who watched the battle video was astounded. Without any backup, Black Flame had killed 2 level 70, Grand Lord ranked evil demons. Hundreds of evil demons and expert players had even fled from this terrifying player. Chapter 1381, Town Competition. Chapter 1381, Town Competition. As Shi Feng's battle video spread on the forums, the news shook Star Moon Kingdom. The battle's outcome particularly affected the various major powers based in the kingdom. Zero Wing's position as Star Moon Kingdom's #1 guild had been unshakable, but no one had expected Heaven's Burial to rise so quickly. Red Iron Town's development had exceeded everyone's expectations. Although players understood that Red Iron Town would develop quickly due to its auction house, they hadn't expected this level of speed. In just one day, the cheap fees had lured over 300,000 players to consign and purchase items in Red Iron Town's auction house. Many super rare items had even been placed on auction, attracting more independent experts and members of the various large guilds. At this point, the town's auction house was far more popular than those in ordinary NPC cities. If Red Iron Town's auction house continued to develop at this rate, it wouldn't be long before it rivaled Star Moon City's auction house. Heaven's Burial's income from processing fees alone would be astronomical. Heaven's Burial's financial strength might even grow to rival, or even surpass, Zero Wing. Rather than a single party ruling over the kingdom, Star Moon Kingdom's various powers would prefer 2 powerful forces vying for lordship. This way, weaker powers like themselves could thrive in secret. However, after witnessing Shi Feng exterminate so many powerful evil demons, they were at a loss. Not only is Black Flame powerful, but he even has a long-distance teleportation tool. This is ludicrous. Heaven's Burial will be in trouble after losing so many evil demons. I've heard that these evil demons are incredibly difficult to nurture. Since Black Flame can also teleport over long distances, Heaven's Burial will find it much more difficult to cause trouble in Stone Forest Town. That's right. Some players had given up on Stone Forest Town thanks to the evil demons, but now that Black Flame has devastated their numbers, Heaven's Burial won't attack so casually in the future. People will start visiting Stone Forest Town again to train in the battle arena. As the various major powers recovered from their shock of seeing Shi Feng's strength, Heaven's Burial's upper echelons, who were in the distant Frozen Scar, received the news. Guild leader, the Ghost Shadow Legion has suffered grievous losses. Among the 600 members dispatched, less than 300 made it out alive. The evil demon army that Beast Emperor gave us suffered even greater losses. Of the 2 Grand Lords and dozen or so Great Lords we received, Black Flame killed them all, Daybreak Fog reported, an ugly expression on her face. The Ghost Shadow Legion was one of Heaven's Burial's trump card legions. Now that so many of its members had died, the lost weapons and equipment would burden the guild's finances. Moreover, it would take quite some time to catch up those members' levels. I really underestimated Black Flame, but he won't be able to stay complacent for much longer. As long as we take down the Frost King, so what if Stone Forest Town recovers to its peak? Moreover, Beast Emperor has nearly completed his quest. Just ignore Zero Wing for now, Singular Burial said nonchalantly. I guess you're right. It's already too late for Zero Wing to do anything. Daybreak Fog giggled as she directed her gaze towards the giant on the frozen throne inside the shrine. This giant was none other than the boss Starmoon Kingdom's various major powers vied for. The Frost King. Meanwhile, Stone Forest Town, Shifeng received a call from Melancholic Smile shortly after returning to the guild residence. Guild leader, you must be crazy. You dealt with all those evil demons by yourself. If Vice Guild leader Aqua finds out about this, she'll give me a lashing. Melancholic Smile complained, glaring at Shifeng with resentment. Vice Guild leader Snow has even called to ask me about the matter. The guild leader had gone into such a dangerous situation by himself. On the off chance that something had happened to Shifeng, Zero Wing's reputation would be wounded. Haven't I returned? Shifeng asked, chuckling. They would have noticed if I mobilized a large group. We would never have achieved such results. Although Shifeng had considered taking reinforcements with him, when he recalled the spies in the guild, he decided to go alone. He had also wanted to see how much he had improved. Melancholic Smile saw the reasoning in Shifeng's explanation. Now that Zero Wing was Starmoon Kingdom's #1 guild, it would be a lie to say that the other guilds within the kingdom had not sent spies to infiltrate their guild. In fact, even Zero Wing had sent its own spies to some of the noteworthy large guilds. Even if Zero Wing's management were secure, it was impossible to contain all information. It was also precisely because of Shifeng's ambush that Zero Wing once more stood in the limelight, becoming a hot topic on the kingdom's official forums. Moreover, Stone Forest Town had begun to show signs of revitalizing, the tense atmosphere left over from the siege evaporating. Many of the town's players discussed the event, livening up the town. The candlelight trading firm also saw a significant increase in the number of players inquiring about Stone Forest Town's private housing. Right, how are the private houses and shops I asked you to build coming along? Shifeng asked. Before he had left for the morning battlefield, he had tasked Melancholic Smile with managing Stone Forest Town's affairs. This way, Blackie and Aqua Rose could take care of their promotion quests without worry. They're complete. However, we've constructed them so far away from the central area. Will players really want to purchase them? Melancholic Smile asked, confused. Logically, one would construct private houses and shops near a town's business district. Yet, Shifeng had told her to build them very far away from the candlelight trading firm and the Adventurers Association. To adventurer teams and merchant players, this would be inconvenient. It'll be fine. Shifeng nodded. Guild leader, regarding the surveillance you requested on Heaven's Burial, based on the information we've received, it seems that the guild is making progress in the Frozen Scar. We're not sure how far they've reached, but based on our estimates, they'll read the Frost King in the next few days. And due to their auction house, Red Iron Town has attracted many players. I've heard that quite a few top adventurer teams from neighboring kingdoms have agreed to garrison in Red Iron Town. I'm afraid that it won't be long before Red Iron Town's popularity surpasses Stone Forest Town. Melancholic Smile felt powerless as she watched Red Iron Town's development speed. Due to the town's potential, many merchant players had allied with the town. Auction house. Shifeng revealed a faint smile. He then told Melancholic Smile, this is a good opportunity. Send me 100 architects. It's about time Heaven's Burial had a wake-up call. Chapter 1382 Evil God's Tablet. Chapter 1382 Evil God's Tablet. Chapter 1382 Evil God's Tablet. 100 architects. Melancholic Smile was stunned and couldn't imagine why Shifeng wanted so many. However, she did not give the matter too much thought, either. She disconnected the call and began to make arrangements for the necessary architects. Architects were considered a minor class among subclasses. Only after guilds had secured their towns had players chosen to become architects. Since the architect subclass was so specialized, few large guilds possessed large reserves of architect players. Generally, each guild would only have 1 or 2 dozen architects. Even the candlelight trading firm only had around 80 architects. The trading firm only has so many due to their preparation for Zero Wing's soon-to-be-constructed city. If they wanted to gather 100 architects, they would need to recruit more. Meanwhile, Shifeng entered one of the guild residence's lounges, organizing his harvest from the previous battle. Aside from the weapons and equipment from killing the Ghost Shadow Legion members, he had obtained over 200 evil energy crystals from the evil demons. He also had the loot from the 2 level 70 Grand Lords. Although the weapons and equipment that the Grand Lords dropped were only level 70 secret silver rank, the materials they dropped surpassed Shifeng's expectations. He had obtained 11 epic rank materials, each of which could be used to craft dark gold rank and higher weapons and equipment. In addition, several rare gemstones had dropped. Ahem. What's this? Shifeng muttered as noticed the addition of an ancient, dilapidated stone tablet in his bag. The tablet had an ordinary appearance, no different than the stone slates that were normally used as street signs. There was nothing amiss or special about it. However, upon picking it up, Shifeng noticed something extraordinary. Despite the stone tablet only being the size of a wash basin, it weighed as much as the stone table in forging rooms. Following which, Shifeng activated omniscient eyes and inspected the item. Third fragment of Evil God's tablet, epic rank item. Created by the evil god, this tablet can be used to form an illusory space within a 50-yard radius. The illusory space will create a bronze rank copy of any player that enters. Players can then fight their own copies. The bronze illusory creature has all skills of the copied player and can achieve a 100% skill completion rate. Duration, 15 minutes. Cooldown, 1 hour. Requires 500 evil energy crystals to upgrade. An illusory space. Excitement brightened Shifeng's expression as he read the text. This evil god's tablet fragment was undoubtedly his greatest harvest from the battle. Not even an epic weapon would be worth as much. This tablet was the equivalent of having a unique land to train in. In God's domain, even peak experts had an extremely hard time achieving a skill completion rate of 100%, not to mention weaker players. Meanwhile, the tablet fragment could create an exact copy of a player to serve as an opponent. The copy could even achieve a 100% skill completion rate. If players could spar with such an opponent long-term, their improvements would be astounding. By fighting the illusory creatures, players could learn how to better execute their skills and raise their skill completion rates. Shifeng had never imagined that the evil demons would drop such a precious item. The tablet fragment's only downside was its short duration. 15 minutes would pass in the blink of an eye. It can be upgraded using evil energy crystals. Shifeng's mood rose even higher. Shifeng knew that evil energy crystals could be useful when crafting weapons and equipment, but he hadn't expected the crystals to have this purpose. Although evil energy crystals only dropped from chieftain rank and above evil demons, he had accumulated quite a few from the 2 siege battles in Stone Forest Town. He hadn't used a single crystal thus far as he hadn't wanted to waste them just to produce weapons and equipment. As a result, over 5,000 evil energy crystals sat in Zero Wing's guild warehouse. Although the evil god's tablet's upgrade cost was a bit steep, upgrading the illusory space would be a worthwhile trade. Following which, Shifeng retrieved all of the evil energy crystals from the guild warehouse. Upon returning, he let the evil god's tablet devour 500 evil energy crystals. Immediately, the tablet started transformed, the originally blurry images on the tablet becoming clearer. At the same time, the tablet's weight tripled. If not for his frighteningly high strength, carrying this tablet would have been a taxing endeavor. The tablet's introduction had also changed slightly. Initially, it would only create a bronze illusory creature. Now, it would manifest a mysterious iron illusory creature. Most importantly, the duration and cooldown had changed considerably. The illusory space's duration had risen from 15 minutes to 20 minutes, and the cooldown had decreased to 55 minutes. If he wanted to upgrade the tablet fragment further, he would need to feed it another 1,000 evil energy crystals. That's quite an improvement. After giving the matter some thought, he decided to upgrade the evil god's tablet again. There wasn't much use for evil energy crystals at the moment. Upgrading the illusory space was much wiser than letting the crystals collect dust in the guild warehouse. After spending another 1,000 crystals to upgrade the tablet a second time, Shifeng proceeded to spend 3,000 more crystals to upgrade yet again. Unfortunately, the fourth upgrade cost 10,000 crystals. Even if Shifeng wanted to, he didn't have enough of the resource. After upgrading the tablet 2 more times, the illusory space could generate fine gold illusory creatures. The illusory space's duration had also increased to 30 minutes, while its cooldown had decreased to 45 minutes. 30 minutes was neither too long nor too short of a time for players. Moreover, players would only have to wait 15 minutes after one session before beginning the next. Once Shifeng finished upgrading the Evil God's tablet, he left the guild residence and headed to the battle arena. Although Stone Forest Town's battle arena had been popular among players thus far, it still struggled to attract experts. The more powerful an expert was, the less inclined they were to visit the battle arena. After all, experts of such high caliber were generally quite rare, which made it practically impossible to find these experts proper opponents that could help them improve in the battle arena. However, now that the battle arena had the illusory space, Shifeng had solved this problem. Noobs and experts alike all desired a method to raise their skill completion rates. This was especially true for expert players. After achieving an 80% skill completion rate, every 1% increase required a lot of time and effort, let alone after reaching 100%. Chapter 1383 Advanced Combat Room. Chapter 1383 Advanced Combat Room. Chapter 1383 Advanced Combat Room. Stone Forest Town, Battle Arena. Nowadays, the Battle Arena was the heart of Stone Forest Town. Almost every player that visited the town visited the arena. As soon as Shifeng entered the central hall, he was greeted by the sight of over 400 players in the rest area, waiting for their turn in the combat rooms. Several times more players lined up for the payment counters. Although the traffic in the battle arena was no match for the number of players that had visited during its peak, it still raked in over 1,000 gold of pure profit per day. It was enough to cause even first-rate guilds to feel envious. Of course, first-rate guilds earned more than just 1,000 gold each day. However, the larger a guild was and the more members it had, the greater its expenditure would be. This was especially true after a guild obtained a town of its own. Developing a guild town was not unlike throwing money into a bottomless pit. Normally, first-rate guilds had to invest a large majority of their funds to develop a town properly. There was very little left each day. Moreover, this was only possible because of first-rate guilds' firm backgrounds and financial support from major corporations. Otherwise, supporting the initial cost of managing a town would be impossible. In Stone Forest Town's case, however, the battle arena's earnings largely made up for the town's development costs. Hence, the other large guilds had begun to construct their own battle arenas. It was thanks to this income, and the income from both the candlelight trading firm and the teleportation house, that Zero Wing dared to develop multiple fronts, investing in both Zero Wing's branch guild in the Black Dragon Empire and Immortal Light. However, once Zero Wing's city was complete, the guild would have another bottomless pit to fill. If they did not prepare, Zero Wing's funds would quickly dry up, and funds were already quite tight. After observing the situation in the battle arena for a short moment, Shifeng made his way to the top floor. "Guild leader, you've come." As soon as Shifeng arrived, a charming woman in a light blue dress greeted him. This woman's name was Judy, and she was one of the 10 advanced NPC managers Shifeng had hired. She had 76 points in wisdom, even higher than an ordinary Tier 3, magical class NPC. In God's domain, she was an extremely rare NPC manager. The battle arena's smooth operation, despite how large it had grown, was all due to advanced NPCs like Judy. No player would have been able to produce the same results. "Help me retrieve the blueprint for the 7th floor. I want to reorganize the layout," Shifeng said and nodded a greeting. Although he wore a black cloak, he had personally contracted the arena's 10 advanced managers. They could recognize him even under the cloak. "Understood." Judy bowed and left. NPCs were incredibly efficient. After just a short moment, Shifeng, who had waited in a VIP reception room, obtained the blueprint for the battle arena's 7th floor. A portion of the 7th floor was allocated for tournament grounds, while another portion had been allocated for private rooms. However, after Stone Forest Town's upgrade to intermediate rank, the battle arena had grown. As a result, there were quite a few vacant private rooms. It just so happened that he could modify these rooms, creating advanced combat rooms. Originally, the Evil God's tablet had only covered a 50-yard radius area. However, after its upgrades, it now covered a 100-yard radius area. As long as he remodeled the 7th floor's layout, he could easily fit multiple combat rooms within the Evil God's tablet's coverage and allow players to train against the illusory creatures. Guild Leader, if you wish to remodel the 7th floor in such a way, not only will it involve a lot of work, but it will also waste a lot of space. The remodel will cost 1,000 gold. Are you sure you want to do this? Judy asked upon seeing Shifeng's new layout. Minor modifications to large buildings in God's domain didn't cost extra. A large-scale modification, however, required the appropriate modification fees. It's fine. Just get someone to see to the necessary changes. The high reconstruction cost didn't particularly surprise Shifeng. Although he would be wasting a lot of space by trying to maximize the Evil God's tablet's efficiency, he could squeeze in 9 combat rooms around the tablet by doing so. Overall, it was a worthwhile trade. With this, he could maximize the number of players who could train against the illusory creatures. When Shifeng had observed the 1st floor hall, he had noticed that the majority of experts there were only level 41 or 42, and they mainly wore secret silver and fine gold weapons and equipment. There were very few expert players in level 40 dark gold equipment. This was due to the limited benefits for experts of that caliber, yet those were the players with a lot of resources to spend. Now that he had the Evil God's tablet's illusory space, this was a good opportunity to lure more top experts to the battle arena. Although Shifeng had thought of limiting the illusory space to guild members, a guild needed more than just experts to develop. If he could lure two experts to the battle arena and secure the resources in their possession, he could push the guild's development speed to a whole new level. Shortly after Shifeng started the 7th floor's remodel, news of the matter spread throughout Stone Forest Town. They're not letting people on the 7th floor. What's going on? No idea. I've heard that some of the experts resting on that floor were requested to leave for a while. It seems that Zero Wing is remodeling the area. Remodeling the 7th floor? Are they constructing more combat rooms? That might be possible. Members hadn't needed to line up for combat rooms in the past, but that had changed. If Zero Wing constructed more member-only combat rooms, it could reduce the time members have to wait in line. The players waiting in the battle arena began to discuss the new changes. While everyone chatted about the situation, the 7th floor remodel completed. Remodeling took far less time than constructing a building as the task was completed by NPCs. Altogether, only 10 minutes had passed since Shifeng had paid the fees. Curious players rushed to the 7th floor to inspect the changes. Upon taking a look, however, they were shocked. While it was true that Zero Wing had constructed more combat rooms, the number had surprised everyone. The guild had only constructed 9 combat rooms. Moreover, these 9 rooms occupied as much space as 20+ combat rooms on the 6th floor. In addition, players could choose a new type of combat room at the 1st floor counters, the advanced combat room. Moreover, only battle arena members had access, and the rental price was ridiculously high. Renting one advanced combat room for 30 minutes cost 2 magic crystals. Players had already griped about the 4 silver per hour rental fees for ordinary combat rooms, yet Zero Wing had created a room that cost 2 magic crystals for a single half hour. Currently, each magic crystal cost 25 silver on the market. However, players normally had to spend 26 or more silver to purchase one. Is Zero Wing trying to rob players? Crap. This is fraud. Only an idiot would rent such a combat room. Zero Wing is insane. If I had that kind of money, I'd rather spend it in the Divine Colosseum's Trial Tower. Chapter 1384 Empire Ranking. Chapter 1384 Empire Ranking. Chapter 1384 Empire Ranking. Players in the main hall of Stone Forest Town's battle arena voiced their dissent. Many complained about the advanced combat room's price. They all felt that Zero Wing was asking for too much, and only a fool would willingly rent these rooms. Independent players weren't the only ones upset. Even Zero Wing's members gasped when they saw the price. 2 magic crystals could only get them 30 minutes inside the advanced combat room. Even Zero Wing's core members were reluctant to pay such a price, much less the elite and normal members. Everyone thought that this price was simply outrageous and no one wanted to rent the rooms. While PvP and training combat techniques in a high mana density environment was beneficial, there was a limit to how much one could actually gain. When Shifeng heard the conversations in the guild chat, he simply chuckled. He then took a return scroll from his bag and activated it, intending to return to White River City for now. While his asking price of 2 magic crystals was astonishingly high, and even he thought it was expensive, the Divine Colosseum's Trial Tower only charged 1 magic crystal. However, his illusory space offered a stronger training ground than the Trial Tower. Not only was the mana density much higher, but players could also spar with an illusory creature that possessed the same skill set. The illusory creature could also execute said skills with a 100% completion rate. No matter how he looked at it, the illusory space was far better than the Trial Tower. He planned to take the gamble. If no one wanted to rent the advanced combat rooms after realizing the benefits, he could lower the price to 1 magic crystal. He had left the Evil God's tablet and advanced combat rooms management to Judy. She would automatically activate the illusory space when players entered the combat rooms. 30 seconds later, Shifeng transformed into a streak of white light and left the battle arena. A man and woman entered the battle arena's lively first-floor hall. Both were exquisitely dressed, level 43 players. As they entered the hall, they immediately attracted a lot of attention. Achem! Aren't they Remnant Cloud and Graceful Moon, the commander and vice-commander of Firecloud Fox? A level 41 shield warrior in silver armor immediately recognized the 2 people that just entered the building. What's an adventurer team from the Black Dragon Empire doing here? It shouldn't be so surprising. After all, several experts from the Black Dragon Empire have trained in the battle arena before. Those experts are pretty high ranked in the Empire, some even ranking among the top 100. Those 2 are probably here to prepare for the Empire's ranking battle tomorrow, a level 42 elementalist wearing purple robes said. I see. Realization dawned on the shield warrior. If I remember correctly, Firecloud Fox barely got into the top 50 adventurer teams in the Black Dragon Empire's last ranking battle. It's a pity that the team wasn't quite strong enough. If Remnant Cloud could rank among the top 50 of his own class, he might be able to push Firecloud Fox into the top 50 this time. That's highly unlikely. Various superpowers recently debuted newcomers that they've been nurturing internally to contest for the top 10 newcomers in God's domain. First-rate guilds will also dispatch some of their geniuses for the competition. Since the ranking battles are such a good opportunity to gain combat experience, why would these new talents pass it by? The purple-robed elementalist said, shaking his head. Just keeping their spot among the top 100 will already be impressive, let alone the top 50. Developing in an empire is awesome. The secret pavilion only holds these battles from time to time in the empires. Players residing in these empires get to watch the battles, too. On the other hand, the secret pavilion hasn't once hosted such a competition in Star Moon Kingdom, the silver-armored shield warrior said, sighing. It can't be helped. God's domain is just too big. Keeping up with the various empires' statistics is already challenging. Moreover, hosting such competitions costs a lot of resources. Even the secret pavilion can't afford to keep track of experts in the various kingdoms. Though, that might not be the case in the future. While the purple-robed elementalist sighed in dejection as well, he also held a hint of hope. Generally, only local players got to watch the secret pavilion's ranking competitions. After all, the competition venue could only hold a limited number of people. The secret pavilion usually only invite active, well-known players, adventurer teams, and large guilds within the hosting empire. Adventurer teams and players from other countries weren't invited. The advanced combat room's rent is so expensive. And only one person can use it at a time. Commander, let's just settle for the ordinary combat rooms, Graceful Moon exclaimed when she saw the prices. Although she could afford the room, 2 magic crystals for 30 minutes of training was ridiculous no matter how she looked at it. Let's give the advanced combat rooms a try. In any case, we're just here to test out the effects of the town's mana density. If we go for the ordinary combat rooms, I'm afraid we'll have to wait a long time before our turn. We don't have that much time to waste right now, Remnant Cloud said, shaking his head. He turned to the NPC behind the counter and said, I'll rent 2 advanced combat rooms. All right. The total cost is 4 magic crystals, the NPC Beauty responded with a smile. Following which, Remnant Cloud paid 4 magic crystals and received 2 purple crystals in return. The purple crystals were keys to the corresponding combat rooms. After receiving the keys, Remnant Cloud and Graceful Moon approached the staircase. Unlike other players, they didn't need to wait in the rest area for their turn, and many players looked on with envy. Only, when these players remembered the 2 magic crystal cost, they shook their heads and gave up on the notion of renting an advanced combat room. Meanwhile, Shifeng had arrived in White River City. After leaving the teleportation hall, he made his way to the library. Due to an unexpected situation, he had been forced to delay his plan of asking Charlene about the pitch-black ring. Now that the evil demon problem plaguing Stone Forest Town had been dealt with, he had to visit the woman. After all, if not even omniscient eyes could appraise the pitch-black ring, the ring's origin must be extraordinary. After riding an advanced horse carriage for 10 minutes or so, Shifeng reached White River City's library. However, the scene before the library had changed drastically. Due to White River City's promotion, the library's appearance had become far more majestic. The guards standing by the main entrance had also been upgraded, now level 180, Tier 2 knights. Upon entering the library, Shifeng felt a distinct change to the building's mana density. It would now be far easier to learn and train spells here than outside. Hence, far more magical class players occupied the building. Shifeng did not waste too much time in the first-floor hall, quickly making his way to the library's top floor. Upon reaching the top floor, like his previous visit, Shifeng felt as if he had just sunk into a muddy swamp. He wasn't comfortable. When he entered the Star Moon Hall, Charlene sat at a table, quietly reading an ancient book as she usually did. She gave off an indescribable sense of intimacy and tranquility. It seems your promotion has gone smoothly. You've made it back so quickly. When Charlene saw Shifeng enter the hall, she scrutinized him. A moment later, she smiled and said, Well? Out with it. Why have you come this time? Lady Charlene, I'd like your help in appraising an item, Shifeng answered straightforwardly. This item is very special, and I cannot even inspect it with my omniscient eyes. Even your omniscient eyes appraise it. Charlene was slightly astonished. Setting her book on the table, she continued, That is interesting. Let me have a look. Following which, Shifeng revealed the pitch-black ring he had obtained from the ancient treasure chest. Chapter 1385, Repairing the Bible of Darkness. Chapter 1385, Repairing the Bible of Darkness. Chapter 1385, Repairing the Bible of Darkness. The pitch-black ring was simple and unadorned. Even if a player picked it up, it wouldn't be surprising if they sold it to an NPC as trash. However, when Shifeng took out the ring, Charlene was stunned for a moment while Shifeng felt the previously calm mana in the hall rampage. Very quickly, however, peace returned to Star Moon Hall. This was the first time Shifeng had seen Charlene lose her composure. Where did you get this? Charlene asked, her joy and excitement lighting up her eyes as she stared at the pitch-black ring in Shifeng's hand. A secret room in the Orc Palace, Shifeng answered truthfully. Seeing Charlene's reaction, he could tell that she recognized the item, and he could not help his growing excitement. If even Charlene hadn't known the ring's identity, it would have likely collected dust in his warehouse for a very long time. After all, unless he obtained an identification skill that was even more powerful than omniscient eyes, he wouldn't learn more about the ring. Such a skill wasn't easily obtained. However, if an NPC recognized the item, He could learn about it even if he couldn't analyze it. So, that's the case. That old bastard really did have it. Charlene smiled. With a wave of her hand, the pitch-black ring flew out of Shifeng's palm and to Charlene's. Slowly, she said, "This is the Ring of Eternity. It had originally belonged to the God Slayer, but looking at it now, it seems to be damaged beyond repair." Damaged beyond repair. Shifeng's heart sank. He had hoped that this ring was something amazing, yet it turned out to be beyond salvation. It was no wonder why omniscient eyes couldn't analyze it. After all, it was only natural that he couldn't appraise a worthless item. Don't be too disappointed. Although it is useless now, the ring's materials are quite special, Charlene said. She couldn't help but giggle when she saw the dejected expression on Shifeng's face. After all, this ring used to be a godly relic. The heart of the world had been its core material. I believe many people will be interested in this ring if you can get a craftsman forger to make a new one. When Shifeng heard the words heart of the world, his breathing quickened slightly. The heart of the world was the foundation of a world. Many of God's domain's otherworlds, for example, had evolved from a heart of the world. If you don't have a use for this ring, I'd be willing to buy it. I can offer you 200 units of 7 luminaries crystals or the Eternium mine that's near White River City, Charlene said, smiling as she toyed around with the Ring of Eternity in her hand. Charlene's offer was sorely tempting. He had never expected the woman to be so generous and wealthy. 200 units of 7 luminaries crystal was no small amount. It would take a first-rate guild months, if not years, to gather so much. Meanwhile, the Eternium mine close to White River City was also quite famous. Shifeng hadn't thought that the mine actually belonged to Charlene. Eternium ore was a very rare supportive ore. It was also used to forge magisteel ingots, which could increase one's success rate when forging weapons and equipment. Many guilds had thought of claiming the mine for themselves in the past. Unfortunately, the mine was under the kingdom's supervision. The NPCs guarding it were all level 180 and above. It was impossible to claim. If he could obtain the Eternium mine, the candlelight trading firm's forgers would have a much easier time when crafting weapons and equipment above level 50. Lady Charlene, if I wish to make a new ring, must I get the help of a craftsman forger? Shifeng asked. Although Charlene's offer was tempting, the heart of the world was similarly precious. Encountering the material again in the future would be nearly impossible. It doesn't have to be a craftsman, but craftsman forgers are the only ones who can use the material to its fullest potential. If you asked a master or grandmaster forger to craft the new ring, the final product will be very low quality. It might not even be worth 50 units of 7 luminaries crystals, Charlene said, smiling at Shifeng. You need to think this through. How about I make you another offer? The power of darkness in your body has already become considerably dense. In exchange for this ring, I'll help you partially restore the Bible of Darkness. It'll become a little easier to retrain Moloka's ring's devouring effect. Help me repair the Bible of Darkness? Shifeng was slightly astonished. He had never imagined that Sherilyn would be so interested in the Ring of Eternity, so much so that she'd offer to help him repair the Bible of Darkness, albeit partially. Immediately, he answered, "All right. I'll have to trouble you to help me repair the Bible of Darkness, then." He had rushed to complete his Tier 2 promotion precisely because he was worried about Moloka's ring's devouring effect. Now that a solution to this problem had presented itself, he had to take advantage of it. After all, he still had other matters to deal with. He didn't have the spare time to quest and repair the Bible of Darkness. Meanwhile, he had other methods of obtaining 7 luminaries crystals. As for the mine, manatite veins were far more valuable than Eternium veins. After all, manatite ore could be used to produce the elementium ingot, another item that could increase forging success rates. Moreover, manatite veins produced magic crystals. As for forging a new ring, there were only a few craftsman-ranked forgers throughout God's domain. Finding one and convincing them to help was simply impossible for a player of his level. Even if he got the chance, it wouldn't happen for a long time. Rather than letting the heart of the world collect dust in his warehouse, he might as well benefit from it now. It would also save him the trouble of completing a quest that was at least epic rank. You've made a wise decision. Otherwise, you'd have to travel to the Broken Canyon, Charlene said, chuckling as she stored the Ring of Eternity. She then said, "Follow me." Hearing Charlene mention the Broken Canyon, Shifeng shuddered. He hadn't realized that he'd have to go to such a dangerous map to repair the Bible of Darkness. The Broken Canyon was a rank 2 forbidden land for humans, only second to the Ruined Mountain Range. In the Ruined Mountain Range, players were guaranteed to die, while in the Broken Canyon, they might survive 1 out of 10 visits. Moreover, they'd only have such hope after reaching Tier 3. Countless peak experts had visited the Broken Canyon in the past. While some had grown stronger, the majority of these peak experts had returned with their characters crippled. Just being able to walk out of the Broken Canyon alive made them experts among experts. As for obtaining something from inside the Broken Canyon, only peak experts had any hope of achieving such a feat. Under Charlene's lead, Shifeng quickly arrived before a teleportation magic array inside the Starmoon Hall. When the teleportation array activated, Shifeng's vision blurred. In the next moment, he found himself inside a hall that resembled the night sky. The beautiful view was mesmerizing. "This is the Stargazing Tower?" Shifeng was slightly surprised. He hadn't expected White River City's library to have a teleportation array connected to the Stargazing Tower. The Stargazing Tower was in Blackwing City. Without an entry pass, entering the city was impossible. Under Charlene's lead, Shifeng returned to the Weeping Moon Pavilion once again. He suddenly felt far more limber. The Weeping Moon Pavilion has a powerful suppression effect on the power of darkness. If we repair the Bible of Darkness here, the Demon Kings won't discover the change, Charlene explained. "All right, take out the Bible of Darkness and place it on the magic array below the water mirror." Nodding, Shifeng retrieved the Bible of Darkness from his bag and set it on the carved magic array beneath the water mirror on the ceiling. The magic array in the center of the Weeping Moon Pavilion looked ancient. Despite the being inactive, Shifeng could feel its archaic aura. As Charlene walked up to the magic array, a dazzling staff suddenly appeared in her hand. She pointed the staff at the magic array and commanded, "Spacetime source, activate." Suddenly, the mana density in the Weeping Moon Pavilion began to grow restless. The magic array then lit up, and horrific amounts of mana surged towards the array, stealing the strength from Shifeng's legs as he fell on his rear. How is this possible? Shifeng was stupefied as he stared up at the sevenfold magic array that formed beneath the water mirror. This magic array was many times more powerful than any Tier 6 God-ranked spell he had seen before. Abruptly, the Bible of Darkness started to flip around as layer upon layer of pitch-black chains appeared around the book, binding it. However, as if time had begun to rewind, the chains began to vanish. When only 5 chains remained, the magic array froze as a violent surge of mana exploded in a shockwave. Not daring to be careless, Shifeng activated Absolute Domain, becoming immune to all damage. When the shockwave struck Shifeng, although he did not receive any damage, he grew faint for a moment. Meanwhile, in the center of the magic array, the originally tattered Bible of Darkness seemed newer as it hovered in the air. The surrounding mana density pulled a shudder from Shifeng. Chapter 1386, Demon Ruler. Chapter 1386, Demon Ruler. Chapter 1386, Demon Ruler. What powerful mana! Shifeng was astonished as he stared at the floating Bible of Darkness. Although the Bible of Darkness had previously exuded a powerful pressure, there was a world of difference when compared to the pressure it radiated now. Moreover, a layer of thick, black fog shrouded the book. The power of darkness was now so dense that he could see it with the naked eye. Meanwhile, Charlene, who was very pale, lightly waved her hand. In the blink of an eye, the floating Bible of Darkness appeared in Shifeng's hands. "All right, I can only repair it to this extent. Whether or not you can repair the Bible of Darkness to its peak will depend on your luck and tenacity. As for Molika's ring, try not to use it unless absolutely necessary, as it will only accumulate more power of darkness." After saying so, Charlene waved her staff. Suddenly, Shifeng's world spun. Before he knew it, He had appeared in the plaza outside of the stargazing tower. His abrupt appearance attracted a lot of attention. "Isn't she too quick to chase people away?" Shi Feng smiled bitterly as he surveyed his surroundings and noticed hundreds of people staring at him greedily. Fortunately, he was wearing a black cloak, so his identity remained a secret. Following which, Shi Feng stored the Bible of Darkness and took out a guild transfer scroll. In Blackwing City's plaza, the players watching Shi Feng easily recognized the Bible of Darkness as an extraordinary item. However, when they saw Shi Feng's transfer scroll, they ground their teeth in anger. Since attacking a player in Blackwing City would result in extremely severe punishment, they could only watch as this mysterious player departed from Blackwing City. Stone Forest Town, Zero Wing's residence. As soon as Shi Feng returned, he found an empty room to inspect the Bible of Darkness. Bible of Darkness, fragmented legendary item. The Bible of Darkness had been destroyed during the Great Destruction. However, the Bible contains an extreme amount of power of darkness. If one can gather the other fragments, they can restore the Bible's power, gaining dominance over all demonic creatures and become the Lord of Demons. Skill 1. Demon Summoning. Summons the demon gate with the power of darkness, calling forth a random demon that is no higher than 1 tier and 15 levels than the summoner. Maximum tier cannot exceed tier 5. Holder of the Bible of Darkness can command the summoned demon for up to 6 hours. Cooldown, 2 hours 30 minutes. Skill 2. Gate of Darkness. Allows teleportation to the Dark Den. Can also be used in the Dark Den to teleport to the outside world. Can teleport a maximum of 20 people at a single time. Cooldown, 1 day. Skill 3. Light of Darkness. Strengthen a player with the power of darkness, allowing said player to wield the power of darkness. Can strengthen up to a maximum of 1,200 people. Every player strengthened provides one source of darkness to the wielder of the Bible of Darkness. Skill 4. Power of Darkness. Fill your body with the power of darkness, increasing all attributes by 100%, decreasing cooldown of all skills by 30%, and increase damage by 50%. Duration will be equal to number of source of darkness *0. 5 seconds. Power of Darkness cannot stack. Can only strengthen players up to a maximum of tier 5 classes. Cooldown, 6 hours. Skill 6. Demon Ruler. Passive effect. Increases the attributes of demonic creatures under user's control by 30%. Forcibly decreases the attributes of all enemy demon creatures within a 1,000-yard radius by 30%. Active effect. When activated, there is a 10% chance to control a demon creature that is no higher than 2 tiers and 30 levels than the user for 2 hours. Can control up to tier 5 creatures. Can control up to a maximum of 3 creatures at a time. Cooldown, 5 minutes. This book can truly give its user the power to rule over demons. Shi Feng was ecstatic as he read the tome's attribute panel. With these attributes, the Bible of Darkness was on par with a legendary item, yet it was only fragmented legendary rank. With the shortened cooldown for demon summoning, it was now possible to summon 3 demons at a time. This would be of great help on his future quests. Meanwhile, with the Demon Ruler skill, he could potentially control up to 6 demons at a time. If he could restore the Bible of Darkness to its peak, he could form a powerful demon army. His army would be no weaker than Beast Emperor's evil demon forces. Moreover, he'd still be an ally of the human race. Now that the maximum number of people I can grant power of darkness to has increased from 600 to 1,200, I can use this opportunity to expand the Dark God's Legion. Shi Feng thought as he read the Light of Darkness skill. As Zero Wing continued to expand, its number of experts continued to increase. However, due to the previous limit of Light of Darkness, he couldn't have more than 500 people in the Dark God's Legion. Now, however, he could have a true 1,000-man legion. Moreover, the Bible of Darkness's repair had also upgraded the Berserk skill, Power of Darkness's effects. When he thought about arming a 1,000-man legion with Berserk skills, he could not help but shiver with excitement. Even 10 years after God's Domain's launch, Berserk skills had been incredibly rare. Not every expert would have a chance to learn one. It'd be impressive enough if a first-rate guild had a 100-man berserk team. Not even super guilds could form a 1,000-man berserk legion. As Shi Feng was about to select new members for the Dark Gods Legion, he received a call from Gentle Snow. Guild leader, I've just received an invitation from the Secret Pavilion. The Secret Pavilion has requested that you and several core upper echelons spectate tomorrow's ranking competition in the Black Dragon Empire. Moreover, the Pavilion has given Zero Wing 5 participation slots. We can join the official competition without going through the qualifiers, Gentle Snow reported before forwarding the invitation to Shi Feng. They've invited Zero Wing to participate in the ranking competition as well? Shi Feng was slightly astonished. The Secret Pavilion's ranking competitions had been the most famous competitions throughout God's domain in the past. They were one of the few major competitions that players had access to and could watch. However, the organization wouldn't invite just any guild to participate. The Secret Pavilion only invited large, local guilds. Moreover, due to the venue's capacity, a limited number of guilds were invited to spectate. Usually, the Secret Pavilion only prepared slots for 100 guilds. Among the guilds invited, the weakest were second-rate guilds. Other local guilds would then contest for the leftover slots. As this ranking competition was the best opportunity for a guild to increase their renown in an empire, an intense competition among the local third-rate guilds would break out before every event. Unfortunately, as both God's domain's size and player population were too massive, it was unrealistic to hold the ranking competitions in every country. Hence, during the game's early stages, the Secret Pavilion only limited the ranking competitions to the various empires. However, as the Secret Pavilion continued to develop and grow stronger, it would host a few events in some of the more powerful kingdoms. These ranking competitions were also why Shi Feng knew about various experts in Starmoon Kingdom and the various empires. Shi Feng had never thought that his guild would be invited as well. However, after giving the matter some thought, he found it reasonable. Zero Wing already had a branch guild in the Black Dragon Empire. In addition, Zero Wing was Starmoon Kingdom's #1 guild. It wasn't unusual for the guild to receive an invitation. Guild leader, this is a good chance for Zero Wing to increase its fame in the Black Dragon Empire. As this is our first invitation and you're our guild leader, you have to attend, Gentle Snow said seriously. There were too many large guilds in the Black Dragon Empire, and quite a few first-rate guilds would be participating in the competition. The first-rate guild, Dragon Phoenix Pavilion, would also attend. Developing in the Black Dragon Empire wasn't easy for Zero Wing. Now that the various top-ranking guilds in the Empire would gather in one location, this was a good opportunity to display Zero Wing's strength. Although the guild leader couldn't participate, he was still the symbol of strength for a guild. It would be a huge waste if Shi Feng missed the event. Chapter 1387 Advanced Auction House. Chapter 1387 Advanced Auction House. Chapter 1387 Advanced Auction House. Got it. I'll definitely be there. Shi Feng chuckled before disconnecting the call. While Zero Wing might be famous in Starmoon Kingdom, in the Black Dragon Empire and other countries, only large guilds would have a clear understanding of it. Ordinary players and the like would at most have only heard Zero Wing's name. After all, God's domain was very large with many guilds in it. There were guilds rising to and falling from prominence every day. Just keeping up with the latest news within one's own country was already a difficult task, not to mention news in other kingdoms and empires. One could only do so by devoting all of their time to researching the various kingdoms and empires and nothing else. However, the consequence of doing something like this was a halt in their progress in the game, something unacceptable to most players. If one spoke about Zero Wing's popularity among the players of the Black Dragon Empire, it might not even be comparable to that of a second-rate guild in the Empire. After all, the majority of the players in God's domain would not leave the country they belonged to at this stage of the game. Moreover, the official forums were also region-based. One could access only the forums of the country they were in. Hence, the only way one could access the forums of another country was by personally traveling to said country. As a result, The knowledge that ordinary players and a large majority of elite players had regarding other kingdoms and empires was limited to the various ranking lists created by the secret pavilion. In fact, before becoming the guild leader of Shadow, Shifeng had also been in a similar situation. If not for the secret pavilion hosting ranking competitions in the various countries, he wouldn't have been able to find out about the experts of the many kingdoms and empires or the well-known guilds and adventurer teams. Following which, Shifeng pulled up the relevant data for guild members and began choosing the new members for the Dark Gods Legion. Previously, as there were too few slots available in the Dark Gods Legion, he had set in place an elimination system to replace underperforming members. Now that the Power of Darkness slots had doubled in number, he needed to select new members for the Dark Gods Legion properly. After all, becoming a member of the Dark Gods Legion was already equivalent to becoming one of Zero Wing's core members. The benefits they enjoyed were second only to what the main force members received. Fortunately, Aqua Rose had already compiled a list of reserve members for the Dark Gods Legion and would frequently update it. The members on this list normally had excellent performances in the guild and displayed rapid improvement. Their individual strength ranked near the top among elite members as well. Moreover, Aqua Rose had also carried out a detailed investigation into their backgrounds. Hence, the likelihood of them being spies from other guilds was very low. Achem. These people have actually joined Zero Wing too? As Shifeng was going through the reserve member list, he suddenly discovered the names of a few players that had been peak experts in Star Moon Kingdom in the past. The elementalist Carefree Wind, nicknamed the Magic Breaker. He was once an independent expert ranked within the top 30 of Star Moon Kingdom's elementalist rankings. Carefree Wind always operated solo. Despite many large guilds' attempts to recruit him, none of them had ever succeeded in doing so. The assassin Cool Breeze. He was similarly an expert on Star Moon Kingdom's assassin rankings. At his peak, he had managed to get within the top 15. Shifeng could not help but sigh ruefully when he noticed that various peak experts of Star Moon Kingdom in his previous life had actually joined Zero Wing. It was no wonder people often said that Zero Wing was rife with experts. When he looked at this list now, those words really were true. Given enough time and opportunities, these people would definitely become peerless experts in the future. At that time, nobody would dare say that Zero Wing was lacking in peak experts. Just as Shifeng was going through the reserve member list, he suddenly received a call from Melancholic Smile. Guild Leader, I've already gathered the 100 architects you've asked for at the Guild Residence's first-floor reception room. They can start working at any time, Melancholic Smile said. The architect class was originally a very unpopular subclass. Even though the Candlelight trading firm had already recruited quite a number before, trying to gather 100 architects was not an easy task. With so many architects, they could already reconstruct Stone Forest Town all over again. Okay, I'll head over right away. Shifeng nodded. Inside the first-floor reception room, 100 architects had gathered. Currently, some of them wore nervous expressions, while others looked excited. After all, this was the first time their guild leader, Black Flame, had asked to meet with them directly. Black Flame was someone everybody in Star Moon Kingdom knew about. He was a living legend. Just before this, he had even single-handedly defeated a small army of evil demons as well as sent Heaven's Burial's experts running for their lives. I wonder what the guild leader has called so many of us here for. I suspect that the guild might be planning on nurturing a few architects. I heard that some time ago, the guild decided to nurture some alchemists. As a result, during this period, those alchemists in the trading firm have been practicing like crazy. They've all locked themselves up in their workshops and have declared they would get within the top 10 of some competition. I also heard about that. Moreover, I heard that it triggered a frenzy among the alchemists in the entire Star Moon Kingdom. Right now, many capable alchemists are trying to join the Candlelight trading firm to compete for the top 10 rankings for that competition. I'm not asking for much. As long as I can become a core member, I will be able to rely on God's domain to earn a stable income in the future. Stop dreaming. It's very difficult for lifestyle players to become core members in Zero Wing. After all, Zero Wing's core members all receive a considerably high fixed monthly salary. Hee hee. I've just managed to get promoted to advanced architect. There are only a few advanced architects in the entire candlelight trading firm. Even if I can't become a core member, as long as I work hard enough, I should still have a great chance to become an internal member. Unlike the forgers, alchemists, and engineers of the trading firm, I don't have to break my back to become an internal member. Even after reaching the advanced rank, those guys can become only official members of the trading firm. I knew I should have become an architect sooner. If I did, I would have also become an advanced architect by now. While everyone was chatting, Shifeng entered the reception room. Immediately, the architects inside the room rose to attention. The room also fell dead silent as everyone looked speechlessly at Shifeng, anxiety apparent on their faces. They had reacted this way not because they wanted to. Rather, their bodies had responded instinctively to Shifeng entering the room. After Shifeng upgraded the 7 luminaries ring, his basic attributes soared significantly, so much so that he had yet to adapt to the change fully. Hence, if he wasn't paying attention, his aura would flow out freely. Moreover, now that the Bible of Darkness was partially repaired, the book added a layer of darkness and coldness to his aura. As a result, when everyone looked at Shifeng, they felt as if they were going up against a great lord-ranked demon. Even elite players, who were fond of combat, would feel a significant amount of pressure from Shifeng's aura. What more low-leveled lifestyle players like themselves? So strong. So this person is our guild leader. Why do I feel my legs going soft? Previously, everyone had only ever seen Shifeng through videos. Now that they were looking at him up close, the reverence they felt towards Shifeng grew even greater. Sit, Shifeng said nonchalantly. Immediately, like well-trained soldiers, everyone sat down in unison with serious expressions. Seeing this scene, Shifeng could not help but smile bitterly. Was he really that frightening? The reason why I've gathered you all here today is to build a large structure. However, before I tell you the exact details, you'll need to sign an agreement. By signing this contract, basic and intermediate architects will directly become official members of the candlelight trading firm, while advanced architects will become internal members, Shifeng explained. Crap. Even basic architects get to become official members? Ha ha ha. My decision to become an architect was the right one after all. Hearing Shifeng's words, nearly everyone in the room cried out in shock. The candlelight trading firm was Star Moon Kingdom's #1 trading firm. It was also a holy land for lifestyle players. The benefits it offered was at the top of the industry. Hence, countless lifestyle players wanted to join the trading firm. However, because of this popularity, becoming an official member of the trading firm was extremely difficult. Normally, when an advanced lifestyle player joined another guild, they would almost always receive the treatment of a core member. In Candlelight, however, advanced lifestyle players would only qualify as official members. One could just imagine how difficult it was to become an official member of the Candlelight trading firm. Meanwhile, if an advanced lifestyle player wished to become an internal member of Candlelight, they would have to top all sorts of competitions. Yet, now, they could become internal members just by being advanced architects. It was simply inconceivable. Immediately, everyone signed the agreement without hesitation. With the contracts dealt with, Shifeng nodded and said, "Since no one has any problems, let's move to today's main topic." Saying so, he took out a very large construction design from his bag. Compared to ordinary construction designs, this one was nearly 3 times bigger. Moreover, the design consisted of a thick stack of papers. When everyone read the words written on the construction design, they gasped. The Advanced Auction House Design. Chapter 1388, Inheriting Secret Runes. Chapter 1388, Inheriting Secret Runes. Chapter 1388, Inheriting Secret Runes. Melancholic Smile, who was also in the reception room, could not help but rub her eyes as she looked at the design placed on the table in astonishment. The auction house design was one of the items the various large guilds were all searching for right now. Just from looking at Red Iron Town's current situation, one could tell how much of a help an auction house could be to a guild town. Many superpowers had even begun offering astronomical prices to purchase the auction house design, as it was something that could only be obtained through luck and not effort. However, even now, nobody had gotten any information regarding the auction house design. Guild leader, are you some kind of treasure box? You actually managed to take out an auction house design as well. If Heaven's Burial were to find out about this, they would definitely faint from anger, Melancholic Smile said as she looked at Shifeng excitedly. Currently, the various major powers and players in Starmoon Kingdom were all optimistic about Heaven's Burial's Red Iron Town. They all believed that it was only a matter of time before Red Iron Town surpassed Stone Forest Town. Meanwhile, one of the main contributing factors for their rosy outlook was the presence of the auction house. Now, however, Zero Wing also possessed an auction house design. If Heaven's Burial's upper echelon were to find out about this matter, their reactions would no doubt be priceless. At this moment, Melancholic Smile finally understood why Shifeng had said that it was about time to give Heaven's Burial a wake-up call. As soon as Stone Forest Town's auction house was constructed, all hopes for Red Iron Town surpassing Stone Forest Town would be dashed. After all, aside from the auction house, Stone Forest Town still possessed many other attractions. It held an absolute advantage over Red Iron Town. Shifeng simply chuckled in response to Melancholic Smile's question. He then started assigning tasks to everyone for the construction of the advanced auction house. Once the advanced auction house was constructed, let alone Red Iron Town's auction house, even Starmoon City's auction house might not be a match for it. However, the construction of the advanced auction house was very difficult and required a lot of rare materials. Just the construction cost alone was over 5,000 gold. In addition, the construction procedures were extremely complex, needing some special secret runes to complete the building. Hence, the design itself included a complete set of foundational secret runes for players to learn. Each player could inherit this kind of technique only once, and only a maximum of 100 players could inherit this set of foundational secret runes. To architects, this was a massive opportunity to improve themselves. How much they could learn would depend on their individual standards. However, even if they managed to learn only half of the technique, it would be a great help in their pursuit of mastery in the future. If one could fully grasp the foundational secret runes, they would have no problems becoming master architects. Although Shifeng did not know how much the 100 architects present could grasp, at the very least, he would increase their chances at becoming master architects. Even if only 1 out of 100 of these people managed to become a master architect, it would be a matter worth celebrating for Zero Wing. At this stage of the game, not much importance was placed on architects. However, as God's domain continued developing and the number of guild towns and cities in the game increased, the status of architects in the game would also rise rapidly. Particularly, at the later stages of the game, the treatment master architects received from guilds would not be the slightest bit inferior when compared to master forgers, master alchemists, and master engineers. After all, advanced construction designs were extremely rare. However, master architects had a chance at creating an advanced construction design of their own. Moreover, every advanced construction design was worth much more than the advanced designs of alchemy, forging, and engineering, because buildings constructed using advanced construction designs possessed distinctive abilities. Take the advanced auction house design for example. In the case of an ordinary auction house, it was only capable of letting players consign and purchase items through it. There was not much difference between it and NPC auction houses. However, it was a different story for advanced auction houses. An advanced auction house possessed 2 more features than an ordinary auction house. The first feature was the bartering function. This bartering function did not require any intervention from players. The system would automatically complete the transaction of items for players. It was an extremely convenient system for independent players and adventurer teams. After all, a large portion of God's Domain's player base consisted of independent players and adventurer teams. There were bound to be some people that would be lucky enough to obtain items that the various large guilds could not. Just this bartering function alone allowed the advanced auction house to surpass ordinary auction houses by far. The second feature was a weekly NPC auction, which was similar to the auctions held at Blackwing City. At this NPC auction, NPCs would put their own items up for bids. Naturally, players would be allowed to purchase these items so long as the bids they placed were sufficiently high. This feature definitely could not be found in an ordinary auction house. Due to these two features, the advanced auction house Ouroboros operated in the past became the #1 auction house in Star Moon Kingdom as well as neighboring kingdoms. Back then, even superpowers were envious of Ouroboros. Inside the reception room, under Shifeng's guidance, all 100 architect players managed to inherit the foundational secret runes. Crap! There's actually such a construction method as well. These foundational secret runes are simply amazing. If my friends were to find out that I've joined Zero Wing and have even learned a set of foundational secret runes, they would definitely die of envy. Amazing. If I manage to learn these secret runes, I feel that I'll have a greater chance of becoming a master architect. Everyone could not help but exclaim when they obtained the foundational secret runes. The loyalty and reverence they felt towards Zero Wing also strengthened even more. Recently, there were all sorts of rumors flying about stating that Heaven's Burial would surpass Zero Wing sooner or later. From the situation now, however, not to mention surpassing Zero Wing, Heaven's Burial would be fortunate if it could touch Zero Wing's shadow. While Shifeng was watching everyone learning the foundational secret runes quietly, Melancholic Smile's expression suddenly sank. "What's wrong?" Shifeng asked curiously. "I just received news from an informant inside Heaven's Burial. It seems that Heaven's Burial has already begun raiding the Frost King," Melancholic Smile explained. "However, something seems to have gone wrong with the Frost King. It displayed a strength that was completely different from our investigations. Even Heaven's Burial was caught off guard. After losing some men, the Legion Heaven's Burial dispatched promptly retreated. Now, in order to deal with the Frost King, Heaven's Burial has formed a 20,000-man elite legion to deal with the Frost King. Currently, the legion has already set out for the Frozen Scar. Its strength is different from previous investigations." Shifeng also felt somewhat surprised at this situation. The NPCs of Evernite City had long since mentioned the Frost King's strength. No mistakes should have occurred. "Do you know how strong the Frost King currently is?" Exactly how strong the Frost King is, that person does not know. However, he heard that the boss's name had an additional mutant label. When fighting, the boss exhibited combat standards that are slightly superior to even ordinary experts. It was as if a player was wearing the skin of a boss, Melancholic Smile reported. Currently, the Frost King has left his original habitat. Many large guilds have also found out about this situation already and are currently dispatching their own elite armies to hunt down the Frost King. A mutant. Shifeng was surprised when he heard about the Frost King turning into a mutant. A moment later, however, a smile appeared on his face. "They've all gone to compete for it. This is interesting. Mutants were no different from natural disasters." The last mutant he encountered in Star Moon Kingdom was a level 50 High Lord. If not for the immaturity of that mutant's intellect, to the point where it actually dared to barge into White River City, it definitely would have grown into a disaster for Star Moon Kingdom. Had Weissman not taken action, it would have been utterly impossible to stop the Mechanical Slayer with just the level 150, Tier 1 and Tier 2 NPC guards in the city. Meanwhile, the Mechanical Slayer back then was only a High Lord. On the other hand, the Frost King was a Grand Lord. However, the precondition for mutants becoming a disaster was that they managed to grow up. Currently, the Frost King had just transformed into a mutant. Now was definitely an excellent time to kill it. In God's domain, risks and opportunities came hand in hand. It was very obvious that the various large guilds were also aware of this principle. Moreover, the fact that the Frost King had left its original habitat was good news for players. After all, the greatest hindrance preventing players from raiding the Frost King was not its strength but the boss's environment. Melancholic, notify the main force members and Dark God's Legion members as well as the people on this list here. Have everyone gather at the guild residence. It's about time we let these guilds know about Zero Wing's strength. Chapter 1389, Gathering from All Sides. Chapter 1389, Gathering from all sides. Chapter 1389, Gathering from all sides. After Shifeng gave his command, Melancholic Smile promptly began contacting the relevant players. When everyone heard that they were being called upon by Shifeng, they immediately dropped what they were doing and rushed back to the guild residence. Meanwhile, Shifeng also took out a return scroll and traveled back to Zero Wing's residence in White River City. If it were simply an ordinary mutant, Shifeng would not have bothered gathering so many players. After all, a newly born mutant would only receive a small boost to their intellect and combat power. Given the minor level difference this time, he would only require a little effort to kill it. However, the Frost King was a slightly special boss. As the final boss of the Frozen Scar, the Frost King possessed the innate skill Frozen World that no other monster possessed. Although Frozen World was only a Tier 3 domain skill, due to it being the innate skill of a final boss, it possessed effects rivaling that of a Tier 4 domain skill. The skill covered a 1,500-yard radius, and players caught within range of Frozen World would have not only their basic attributes but also their skills and stamina forcibly weakened. Moreover, the more players there were fighting against the Frost King, the greater the boss's strength would become. Due to these reasons, despite being only a Grand Lord, the Frost King's raid difficulty was not one bit lower than a Tier 4 mythic monster's. After factoring in the severe environment, the Frost King might even be more difficult to raid than a mythic monster. Players who did not possess the appropriate countermeasures would definitely get annihilated by the Frost King. After returning to the guild residence in White River City, Shifeng quickly made his way to the guild's warehouse. Without hesitation, he retrieved 1,000+ bottles of Sea God's Blessing as well as the ancient weather book. With these items, he would have the qualifications to raid the Frost King. Right then, Melancholic Smile contacted Shifeng and said, "Guild leader, everyone's already assembled at the residence. They are ready to move out at any moment." Okay. Shifeng immediately left the warehouse. Currently, Zero Wing's main force, the Dark God's Legion, and the selected reserve members were gathered inside Zero Wing's residence in White River City. Even the lowest-leveled player among them was level 43, while the majority were level 45. Meanwhile, even the most inferior piece of equipment found on these players was at the level 40 fine gold standard. As for the main force members, practically every one of them was fully equipped in level 40 dark gold equipment. To ordinary players, this could already be considered a set of divine equipment. As the 1,000+ players waited before the guild hall, the intense aura they radiated stupefied the prospective applicants lined up outside the residence as well as the passers-by on the street. When Zero Wing's members saw Shifeng walking over, they immediately dropped their conversations and stood at attention, looking at Shifeng with eyes filled with excitement. Although they had yet to hear the reason why Shifeng had called them here, they could mostly guess that it had something to do with the suddenly mutated Frost King. By this time, information about the Frost King was no longer a secret, as many large guilds had already organized their own armies and were hurrying over to the Frozen Scar. "All of you, come collect your Sea God's Blessing from me. Each person gets 1 bottle," Shifeng said as he sent a glance at everyone. "Also, send your personal data to me." The combat method of a 1,000-man team was different from that of a 100-man team. Hence, before starting an operation, one needed to reorganize the team's formations. Otherwise, it would be very easy for chaos to ensue in battle. Following which, Shifeng spent roughly 20 minutes assigning specific roles to everyone in the team. As for the newly minted Dark Gods members, he also granted them the Berserk skill Power of Darkness. Now, Power of Darkness had already become much stronger than an ordinary Berserk skill. "Alright, everyone, move out. Our destination is the Frozen Scar," Shifeng said after seeing everyone already ready to go. Following which, everyone got on their mounts and followed Shifeng's demonic flame tiger to the teleportation hall. When the players on the street saw this lineup, they promptly stepped aside to give way to Zero Wing's members. Meanwhile, when the members of other guilds looked at the majestic Thunder Wolves Zero Wing's members rode on, they could not help growing envious. At an open plain at the Frozen Scar, a horde of players was currently gathered, their numbers easily exceeding 100,000. These players were all members of various large guilds in Starmoon Kingdom. As for independent players, they could only look at these guild players from the Frozen Scars entrance. They did not dare to approach these guilds at all, afraid of getting caught in the crossfire of the competition between these guilds. After all, among the guilds present, even the guild that dispatched the fewest members to this place had over 2,000 members, while some of the more powerful guilds had sent over 6,000 members. In front of these guilds, the 100-man teams formed by independent players like themselves were like specks of dust. Is there a need to mobilize such a force just to take down one boss? Many independent players were perplexed as they watched the constant stream of guilds entering the Frozen Scar. Previously, the various large guilds had not been particularly enthusiastic about raiding the Frost King. Only a few powerful guilds had been seen actually trying to reach the Frost King. Yet, now, after word spread that the Frost King had become stronger, rather than decrease, the number of guilds aiming for the king's head had increased instead. Don't you know? The various large guilds did not try to raid the Frost King before because the boss lived at the central area of the Frozen Scar. You need very high ice resistance if you want to survive there. However, the Frost King has already left the central area. Based on what I've heard, it seems that the Frost King is currently headed in our direction. Now that the raid difficulty has decreased significantly, the various large guilds naturally won't let go of this opportunity, a player knowledgeable about the situation explained. Just as everyone was having a hushed discussion among themselves, another large group of players arrived at the Frozen Scars entrance. The players numbered so many that they very nearly clogged up the entire entrance. Quick, look. The Star Alliance and Heaven's Burial have arrived. They've brought along so many members. They must have dispatched at least 10,000 members. 10,000? What a lowball. From what I heard from one of Heaven's Burial's internal members, it seems that Heaven's Burial has dispatched 20,000 members to take down the Frost King this time. As for the Star Alliance, they've dispatched 24,000 members. I really wonder, which guild will get the Frost King in the end? Guild Leader Galaxy, what a rare opportunity to meet you here. I never thought that you would take charge of the legion sent to raid the Frost King this time, Singular Burial said, feeling slightly surprised as he looked at Galaxy Past, who rode on a large war bear. At this moment, Galaxy Past was geared in silver armor engraved with golden, divine runes, and carried a purple, lightning-clad greatsword on his back. He also did not bother hiding the epic glow effects of his breastplate and great sword. As for Galaxy Past himself, he had already reached level 45, and his body radiated a chilling aura. Compared to the Galaxy Past Singular Burial knew before, the current Galaxy Past was like a completely different person. Previously, as Singular Burial had been entirely focused on surpassing Zero Wing, he had neglected to pay attention to the Star Alliance. In addition, the Star Alliance had kept a low profile for quite a long time, only developing itself peacefully and not participating in any guild battles. Singular Burial never expected that after not seeing Galaxy Past for some time, the latter would actually become so powerful that even Singular Burial himself felt threatened by him. Moreover, Galaxy Past wasn't the only person that had changed. The Elementalist Red Feather, the Ranger Flourishing Willow, and the Elementalist Purple Eye had all become a lot stronger. Like Galaxy Past, they were also level 45, and every one of them gave off a very dangerous feeling. Haven't you personally come here as well, in order to gain Evernight City's reputation and status, Guild Leader Burial? Galaxy Past countered, chuckling as he glanced askance at Singular Burial. Why don't our two guilds join hands and clear out the other guilds present? Afterwards, we'll rely on our own capabilities to compete for the Frost King. How about it? Singular Burial suggested as he looked at the other guilds in the distance that were currently getting ready to tackle the Frost King. Guild Leader Burial, while your suggestion indeed sounds good, allow me to refuse on behalf of the Star Alliance. In my opinion, the more, the merrier. Galaxy Past immediately turned down Singular Burial's offer. If Guild Leader Burial doesn't have anything else to say, we'll go ahead to start making our own preparations. Saying so, Galaxy Past led the Star Alliance's members towards the plains. Guild Leader, what's up with Galaxy Past? Why do I feel as if he has transformed into a completely different person? Daybreak Fog asked, surprise coloring her face as she watched Galaxy Past and the other members of the Star Alliance walk away. I don't know. However, we'd best pay more attention to the Star Alliance in the future, Singular Burial said, shaking his head. Although the Star Alliance had transformed remarkably, Singular Burial was still confident of claiming the kill on the Frost King. His previous offer to clear out the other guilds was simply an attempt to probe the Star Alliance's strength. In reality, it did not matter to him whether the other guilds took part in the competition or not. All right, let's go get ready ourselves. Daybreak Fog nodded in response and commanded the army forward. Just as the various large guilds were quietly waiting for the Frost King's arrival, another batch of white lights appeared at the entrance of the regional dungeon, signifying the arrival of yet another group of players. The moment these players appeared, the many independent players crowding the entrance could not help but turn around to take a look at these newcomers. The reason for such a reaction was the powerful aura they felt coming from these players. Every one of these players exuded an aura that made the onlookers shudder. Meanwhile, the exquisiteness of these players' equipment was also off the charts. Moreover, every one of these players sat on mounts, and they moved like a well-trained army. Compared to them, the previous guild armies seemed more like a bunch of rabble. It's Zero Wing. Zero Wing has come as well. Chapter 1390, Settling a Debt. Chapter 1390, Settling a Debt. Chapter 1390, Settling a Debt. Upon Zero Wing's arrival, the guild attracted a lot of attention from the independent players crowding the entrance. One team after another appeared, surprising the spectating players more with each arrival. Level 45. How are Zero Wing's members so high-leveled? The top 10 players on the ranking list are only level 45. By the looks of it, Zero Wing should have at least 400 level 45 members. Crap. Zero Wing has so many members in level 40 dark gold equipment. Zero Wing's appearance was truly eye-catching. The Thunder Wolf Guild mount and six-winged emblem had become famous as Zero Wing's symbols. As the crowd watched the massive Thunder Wolves, they could not help but drool. At the moment of purchase, the Thunder Wolves' attributes rivaled that of bronze mounts despite their common rank. Although nurturing guild mounts was very difficult, it was obvious that the Thunder Wolf's growth potential was very high, which would make it easier to nurture. Meanwhile, players could obtain items from the Eclipse Gate that could accelerate their guild mount's growth. Zero Wing's members were practically guaranteed to nurture their Thunder Wolves to bronze rank. Even for elite players, a bronze mount was a luxury. They'd have to be lucky to find one. Pchem. What's that mount? Its aura is so powerful. How can such a powerful mount exist? As Zero Wing's members continued to arrive, everyone quickly noticed a ferocious, 3-meter-tall beast. A pitch-black horn protruded from its head as arcs of white electricity danced around its body, and black flames surrounded its four paws. It was distinctively different from the Thunder Wolf mounts. Players could even feel this beast's aura from over 100 yards away. A single glance from this creature made them shudder. This ferocious beast was like a king among mounts. The moment it appeared, every other mount submitted as it stepped aside. Wait, look at the rider. The player on that mount seems to be Black Flame. It really is Black Flame. I never thought he would lead an army here personally. The competition for the Frost King is about to become more interesting. Crap. As expected of the Sword King, he even managed to get his hands on such a mount. I wonder what rank it is. Since it's so powerful, could it be an epic mount? Black Flame's capabilities are ridiculous. With such a powerful mount, he won't even need to take action to kill an expert player. He can simply let his mount take care of it. Everyone stared at Shifeng in shock. A dark gold mount could, at most, rival a chieftain of the same level. Although chieftains were powerful, they were not insurmountable to the players here. However, Shifeng's one-horned mount was clearly more powerful than a lord-ranked monster. At this point, the only explanation was that this demonic flame tiger was an epic mount. An epic mount. Even super guilds dreamed of obtaining such a creature. Unfortunately, the highest rank they had managed to secure was a dark gold mount. These players, or for Shifeng, continued to reach new heights. Of course, These players didn't know that Shifeng's demonic flame tiger had only become this terrifying after he had fed it a ferocious beast's bloodline essence. Although Shifeng had only brought around 1,000 members to the Frozen Scar, the army's aura was even more imposing than the Star Alliance and Heaven's Burial's forces. Zero Wing's appearance had also caused a commotion among the various large guilds waiting in the plains. Guild leader, what should we do? Zero Wing has dispatched so many experts. On the off chance that they decide to move against us. The various large guilds' upper echelons and players began to panic as Shifeng and Zero Wing's army approached. The guild leaders were also on edges. None of them had expected Zero Wing to join this competition. After all, the guild hadn't shown any interest in the Frost King before. Hence, they had come to try their luck and compete for the Frost King's kill. None of them were concerned with encountering Heaven's Burial and the Star Alliance. But it was a different story if Black Flame showed up. He had fought in one major war after another, always emerging alive. He was even strong enough to instill fear in experts and an evil demon army as both had fled for their lives. For this man, taking a particular player's life while surrounded by an army of tens of thousands of players was a piece of cake. Furthermore, 1,000 experts accompanied Black Flame. Against such a force, an army of 10,000 elite players was little more than cannon fodder. Don't panic. We have dozens of large guilds here right now. Zero Wing wouldn't dare attack any of us if we join hands. That's right. After all is said and done, a boss is a public resource. Moreover, we were here first. We should do this on a first-come, first-served basis. Although Zero Wing is Star Moon Kingdom's #1 guild, I don't think it will interfere. As Zero Wing approached, the various guilds began to form temporary alliances. In reality, though, they understood that such an alliance wouldn't pose any threat to Zero Wing. This was especially true after witnessing Black Flame single-handedly defeat the evil demon army. They all knew that attempting to deter Black Flame with numbers was a futile effort. Greetings, Guild Leader Black Flame. I am the Assassin's Alliance's Guild Leader, Cruel Sword. I am a friend of Zero Wing's elder, Yifeng, Cruel Sword said as he took the initiative to greet Shifeng, anxiety and respect filling his voice. Honestly, Cruel Sword did not want to greet the man. Although he was the guild leader of the Assassin's Alliance, a second-rate guild, it was nothing compared to Zero Wing. Moreover, the Assassin's Alliance mainly operated around White River City. If Zero Wing wished to do so, it could annihilate the Assassin's Alliance at a moment's notice. However, as Cruel Sword had formed a connection with Zero Wing's Yifeng some time ago, the various large guilds had pushed him forward as their representative in any negotiations with the monstrous guild. Cruel Sword didn't know whether he wanted to laugh or cry. Relax. I won't do anything to you guys. If you want to compete for the Frost King, do it. Everyone will rely on their own abilities to secure the kill. Seeing Cruel Sword's tension, Shifeng understood why the man had approached him. In this situation, he didn't mind what the various large guilds decided to do. After all, getting the Frost King's first kill was much easier said than done. However, Shifeng couldn't help a rueful sigh when he saw Cruel Sword at level 43 with a set of silvery armor. The Assassin's Alliance had been a towering existence to him in the past, but the tables had turned. Shifeng found the situation reasonable after giving it some thought. After all, Zero Wing was Star Moon Kingdom's #1 guild. Its elite member count alone was over 100,000. The guild also had more than 1,000 expert players. Their members wore the best weapons and equipment throughout Star Moon Kingdom. A second-rate guild simply couldn't compare. Many thanks to guild leader Black Flame. Cruel Sword thanked the man. If Zero Wing intended to chase these guilds away, they'd have no choice but to leave obediently. Hearing Shifeng's reply, the many upper echelons released a sigh of relief. However, I'd like to ask you all to step aside as Zero Wing has a debt to settle with Heaven's Burial, Shifeng added indifferently as he glanced at the guild's distant army. Chapter 1391 Monstrous Army. Chapter 1391 Monstrous Army. Chapter 1391 Monstrous Army. As soon as Shifeng finished speaking, Silence descended upon the snowy plains. Madness. This is madness. Are they really going to start a fight right now? This can't be, right? Does Zero Wing intend to take out all of Heaven's Burial's members? Zero Wing isn't aiming for mutual destruction, right? For a moment, these players wondered if they had heard wrong. None of them dared to believe that Zero Wing would actually try to deal with Heaven's Burial right now. The guild only had 1,000 or so members here. Although Zero Wing's members possessed extraordinary combat power, Heaven's Burial had plenty of experts as well. A large number of the guild's elite members had also tagged along. Fighting in such an open field was very disadvantageous for the smaller army. If it really came down to a fight, even Zero Wing would suffer grievous losses. Guild leader, what is Black Flame thinking? Is he actually planning to take on Heaven's Burial here? Purple Eye, wearing a set of luxurious mage robes, revealed a confused expression as she looked at the distant Shifeng. He's not joking, right? Although the Zero Wing was very powerful, she did not think that the guild could defeat Heaven's Burial's 20,000 members with only 1,000 experts. Not everyone was as powerful as Black Flame. There was a limit to their strength. I don't know, but Singular Burial must be pretty frustrated right now, Galaxy Past said, smiling faintly as he glanced at the guild leader. Of course, we'll benefit most from their mutual destruction. Warn our members to stay away when they start fighting. Do not let us get dragged into this. Understood. I'll notify them right away. A smile similarly appeared on Purple Eye's face. If Zero Wing and Heaven's Burial started to fight, regardless of who won or lost, neither would be able to compete for the Frost King. As everyone quietly discussed the situation, Shifeng turned towards Heaven's Burial and loudly announced, "Everyone, charge. Leave none of those Heaven's Burial bastards alive." As Shifeng gave the command, he activated a guild war order, locking down the frozen scar and preventing anyone from using a return scroll. If one wanted to leave the regional dungeon, they'd have to walk out with their own power. Wonderful. We finally get the chance to teach those Heaven's Burial punks a lesson. Hearing Shifeng's words, Zero Wing's members shifted their gazes towards Heaven's Burial, excitement flashing in their eyes. Like ferocious beasts released from their cages, they ushered their mounts forward in unison. Has Black Flame lost his mind? Singular Burial's expression turned ugly as he watched Zero Wing's members charge towards his own. He had never expected Zero Wing to start a fight like this. All 1,000 plus of these Zero Wing members were experts. Their overall combat power was most likely superior to a 10,000-man elite army. He had expected some friction between their guilds before he had arrived in the Frozen Scar. As a preventive measure, he had led an army of 20,000 elites. However, he hadn't expected Zero Wing to be so reckless to pick a fight at the risk of mutual destruction. Daybreak Fog frowned as well as she turned to Singular Burial and asked, "Guild leader, what should we do?" "Prepare for battle. I refuse to believe that Zero Wing can take us out with only 1,000 members." Singular Burial was enraged. Now that Zero Wing had made the first move, the guild would become a laughingstock in the kingdom if Heaven's Burial fled despite its overwhelming numbers. Upon Singular Burial's command, Heaven's Burial's members prepared for battle. Shield warriors and guardian knights quickly moved to the front and formed a human wall. As for the ranged classes in the back, they had also readied themselves to attack at a moment's notice. The assassins instantly entered stealth, circling to the enemy army's sides. The distance between the armies rapidly vanished. 300 yards. 200 yards. 100 yards. Begin. Shifeng shouted in the team chat. Suddenly, Zero Wing's members retrieved bottles of Sea God's Blessing from their bags, downing the potions and increasing their basic attributes and resistances. They then activated Power of Darkness, increasing their basic attributes by another 100%. Zero Wing's main force members and Dark God's Legion members' attributes were already impressively high. Now that every one of them had activated a Berserk skill, their auras resembled those of Lord-ranked monsters. How is this possible? What? All of these people have Berserk skills? The distant spectating players gasped. Berserk skills were extremely rare in God's domain. A large guild would be fortunate if they secured a few dozen skill books. Even first-rate guilds generally had around 200 or 300 berserk skill books. These players would be shocked to see Zero Wing have 400 or 500 members with berserk skills, but all 1,000+ members had activated these rare buffs. Moreover, it was obvious that these berserk skills were extraordinary based on the guild members' auras. While everyone stared in shock, Shifeng used space movement to appear among Heaven's Burial's rear line. He then switched the aura of space to the aura of fire before turning flame domain on Heaven's Burial's healers. Suddenly, a crimson ripple devoured the healers. A towering pillar of fire rose from the ground, flames enveloping a large portion of the enemy's healing force. Even from the Frozen Scars entrance, everyone could see the burning pillar. The instant the fiery pillar appeared, Heaven's Burial's healers turned to ash. They hadn't even had a chance to flee. In the blink of an eye, over half of Heaven's Burial's healers had died. Black flame. Wrathful flames burned in Singular Burial's eyes as he glared at Shifeng. With uncontrolled rage, he shouted, "Everyone, kill him." In just one move, the army had lost 1,000 healers. Singular Burial's heart bled at the sight. As soon as Flame Domain ended, Shifeng executed Lightning Edge with his killing ray, aiming for the dazed magical class core. Immediately, countless arcs of lightning left the sacred sword, devouring hundreds of magical class players. Only a few expert players reacted quickly enough to activate their life-saving skills, keeping themselves alive. In just 2 moves, Shifeng had killed over 1,500 players. This is insane. So, this is Black Flame? The jaws of the distant spectating independent players hung as they watched, none of them able to believe their eyes. The battle had just begun, yet Shifeng had devastated Heaven's Burial's army. As for the various guild players, cold sweat drenched their foreheads as they watched the slaughter. They inwardly celebrated the fact that they hadn't made an enemy of Zero Wing. Black Flame alone would be more than enough to annihilate their guilds. "Kill him, quickly," Singular Burial bellowed as he retrieved the longbow and arrows from his back. Reacting to Singular Burial's words, the other members recovered their senses and peppered Shifeng with a rain of arrows and spells. In response, Shifeng executed void steps, vanishing instantly. In the end, none of the attacks had even scratched the man's cloak. Shifeng then reappeared beside the healers that had survived the previous AoE attacks. Even without a berserk skill, Shifeng's strength was as high as a great lord of the same level. As a result, every swing of his blade claimed the life of another healer. Due to Shifeng's interference, Zero Wing's 1,000-man army reached Heaven's Burials unhindered. These experts proceeded to massacre the other guild's members. Despite Heaven's Burial's MTS activating their life-saving skills, they only survived 2 or 3 hits before transforming into light particles and disappearing. Like a meat grinder, Zero Wing's army devoured Heaven's Burial's people. Not even the enemy healers could keep up with their damage. The other guilds were stupefied. How was this even a battle? This was no more than a one-sided massacre. Chapter 1392, Hand Over Your Life. Chapter 1392, Hand Over Your Life. Chapter 1392, Hand Over Your Life. So, this is the strength of Star Moon Kingdom's #1 guild? Just how high are their attributes? They killed MTS with over 40,000 HP in just 2 or 3 moves. The spectating independent players and those from the various guilds had goosebumps as they watched equipment litter the battlefield. In their eyes, the Star Alliance and Heaven's Burial were only second to Zero Wing in Star Moon Kingdom, and both were only slightly weaker than Zero Wing. However, it seemed that those assumptions had been a joke. Although Heaven's Burial's 20,000 members were quite strong and were experts in the eyes of ordinary players, Zero Wing's 1,000 members shredded these players as easily as paper dolls. Guild leader, at this rate, Zero Wing will annihilate our men very quickly, Daybreak Fog, who had taken command of the battle, reported. Her expression darkened as she watched the slaughter. Heaven's Burial had suffered over 4,000 casualties since the battle had begun. Even when 5 or 6 berserkers had changed at Zero Wing's MTS, they had failed to block the MTS advance and lost over 10,000 HP in the attempt. Meanwhile, Zero Wing's MTS only lost around 3 or 4,000 HP as the enemy bombarded them with spells and arrows. The majority of these MTS had blocked the attacks, further reducing the damage they received. The guild's healers easily kept up with the small amounts of damage. Zero Wing, you asked for this. Fury burned in Singular Burial's eyes as he watched Shafome take out his healers. Gnashing his teeth, he growled, "Send in Lightning Blade and Broken Flow. At worst, we'll give up on the Frost King for now. You want to use that now?" Daybreak Fog was momentarily stunned. She had never imagined that they would use their trump card to deal with Zero Wing. "That's right. I want to see if Black Flame can keep his composure as we murder his expert." Singular Burial sneered. He had to admit that Zero Wing's army was indeed frightening. Even Heaven's Burial had only collected 200+ Berserk skill books thus far. There was no competing with Zero Wing's 1,000+ members. Anyone without a Berserk skill in this battle was nothing but cannon fodder. At most, they could slow the enemy's advance. They'd be lucky to kill 100 Zero Wing members before they were eliminated. However, Heaven's Burial had not been sitting on its hands. "I'll notify them immediately." Daybreak Fog understood Singular Burial's reasoning. If they could deal a heavy blow to Zero Wing's expert army, they could deal a blow to Zero Wing itself. After all, it was not easy to nurture experts. If those experts lost their weapons and equipment, it would take a long time to find suitable replacements. "Blade, orders from the guild leader. We're to take action," Broken Flow said. He wetted his lips in anticipation as he watched Zero Wing's members approach. "We're actually using it against Zero Wing?" The Guardian Knight, Lightning Blade, frowned. Suddenly, every member of Broken Flow and Lightning Blade's 100-man expert team pulled a purplish gold potion from their bag and drank it. As the potion took effect, these players' eyes became bloodshot, and their muscles bulged. Their auras also intensified. A vicious bloodlust overtook every player. These players promptly activated their Berserk skills, increasing their attributes further. "Kill him. Teach Black Flame the meaning of despair." Singular Burial grinned wickedly as he watched the expert team rushed to meet Zero Wing's army. After their previous fight with the Frost King, they had realized how powerful the mutant Grand Lord really was. There was a reason that they had dared to return and challenge the Frost King once more. The secret potential potion Broken Flow and his team had just consumed was precisely that reason. This potion had been crafted from an ancient recipe they had found in an ancient ruin. Unfortunately, as the recipe required extremely rare and valuable materials, with each attempt to brew the potion costing over 20 gold, they had only produced a little over 100 bottles. When consumed, the secret potential potion increased the user's strength by 120% and other basic attributes by 60% for 5 minutes. Although the duration was short, the potion had no side effects. Moreover, its effects would stack with Berserk skills. When combining the secret potential potion with a Berserk skill, the results rivaled peak classes' twofold Berserk state. Although Broken Flow's team had only 100 members, every one of their attributes was nearly on par with a Great Lord of the same level. This was why Singular Burial had dared to challenge the Frost King again. Unfortunately, he had been forced to use this trump card to teach Zero Wing a lesson. Die. The level 44 Berserker, Broken Flow, used charge and arrived in the midst of Zero Wing's army. Tightening his grip on his great sword, he executed Whirlwind Slash. Immediately, a storm brewed within a 12-yard radius, sending 8 Zero Wing members flying. One shield warrior that failed to defend himself in time instantly lost over 30,000 HP. The other experts from Heaven's Burial joined the charge, penetrating Zero Wing's army like a sharp blade. As the two forces met, these players forced the enemy assault to a halt, pushing back and kill Zero Wing's shield warriors and guardian knights leading the army. Crap, are these players from Heaven's Burial monsters? They've dealt over -30,000 damage in a single attack. Even a level 40 MT couldn't survive such a hit. It's no wonder why Heaven's Burial dared to provoke Zero Wing. If Zero Wing's members don't have anything else in store, Heaven's Burial's 100-man expert team may take them down. The spectating players stared in shock as Heaven's Burial's expert team stopped Zero Wing's progress. Zero Wing's members had displayed astonishing attributes, yet Heaven's Burial's experts were stronger. In a single exchange, Zero Wing had suffered dozens of casualties. The difference between the forces was clear. Guild leader, I'm fairly sure that the potion Broken Flow and his men just used is the secret potential potion the Secret Pavilion's report mentioned. Based on the report, Heaven's Burial had only gotten its hands on a little over 100 bottles after a lot of effort. Now that they've used this potion against Zero Wing, they must intend to give up on raiding the Frost King, Purple Eye commented when she saw Heaven's Burial turn the tides of battle. Smiling faintly, she said, Zero Wing is in trouble. If this battle were in a jungle, they could buy some time until the potion's duration ends, but they don't have that option here. Zero Wing and Heaven's Burial's mutual destruction would be the best possible outcome for the Star Alliance. Although that wasn't likely, Heaven's Burial had dropped from the contest for the Frost King's first kill. Black Flame has underestimated Heaven's Burial. After all is said and done, Heaven's Burial rose to its position in such a short amount of time. Why wouldn't it have a few trump cards? However, we'll have to thank Zero Wing for this. If not for Zero Wing, we wouldn't have seen this trump card, Galaxy Past chuckled. Purple, tell Red Feather and the others to prepare. Once Heaven's Burial's berserk skills run out, send them into the fight. Guild leader, rest assured. We'll collect the weapons and equipment they drop, Purple Eye said, giggling. Back in the battlefield, the tables had turned on Zero Wing, and they began to retreat to buy as much time as possible. After all, Power of Darkness had a very long duration. Ordinary berserk skills were no match for it. If they could endure until Heaven's Burial's berserk skills ended, they could reclaim the fight. Suddenly, Shifeng turned his attention towards the enemy's 100-man expert team. Heaven's Burial's trump card had surprised him. If not dealt with properly, Zero Wing could lose this fight. Black Flame, you dare face me? I'll take your head. After killing a level 45 berserker, Broken Flow shifted his gaze towards Shifeng as the man charged for him. Grinning, he led a dozen or so players to surround Shifeng. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories,